Tonight, we're breaking down the complete hidden timeline of every Pokémon ability, their origins, evolution, and lost powers. This is a fascinating topic, but I'll keep my narration calm to ensure you can still drift off to sleep. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Now back to the video. Imagine a world where the very air hums with a silent, unseen energy. A world where a creature doesn't just breathe or eat, but vibrates with a fundamental essence that dictates how it interacts with reality itself. For decades, we have looked at Pokémon through the lens of their types, their moves, and their evolutions. But there is a deeper layer to their biology that often goes overlooked in the grand tapestry of history. It is the concept of the ability. To a casual observer, an ability is a mechanical quirk, a line of text on a screen that grants a tactical advantage in the heat of battle. But if we peel back the layers of time and look into the ancient scrolls of the Hoenn region, the primordial mists of the Sinnoh myths, and the high-tech laboratories of the modern era, we find that abilities are much more than just game mechanics. They are the evolutionary fingerprints of a world that has been shaped by cosmic collisions, divine intervention, and the slow, grinding gears of natural selection. There is a profound mystery at the heart of this timeline. For the first 2 generations of our journey through the Pokémon world, abilities as we know them were silent. They were dormant. When the first trainers set out from Pallet Town or New Bark Town, they saw a Charizard breathe fire and a Blastoise spray water, but the concept of a blaze or a torrent was absent from the scientific literature of the time. This creates a staggering narrative gap. Did these powers suddenly manifest in a global awakening? Or have they always been there, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment in history to be codified by human science? To understand the timeline of abilities, we must go back to the very beginning, long before the first Pokéball was ever forged. We have to look at the Primordial era, a time when the world was a chaotic soup of elemental forces. Creatures like Anorith, whose 8 legs were not just tools for crawling along the seabed, but the precursors to wings that would eventually define the bug types of the future. This suggests that what we call an ability today is often just the modern manifestation of an ancient survival mechanism. The stakes of this exploration are incredibly high because they touch upon the very definition of what it means to be a Pokémon. If a Kadabra is truly a young boy who transformed because he couldn't control his psychic prowess, then its inner focus or its synchronizability isn't just a biological trait. It is a remnant of a human soul struggle with a power it wasn't meant to possess. When we look at the legendary giants of the Hoenn region, Groudon and Kyogre, their abilities to change the very weather of the planet aren't just skills, they are extensions of their divine will. The spiritual energy of the Draconid people, channeled through prayer to summon Rayquaza from the ozone layer, suggests that some abilities are unlocked only through the intersection of human belief and Pokémon potential. This brings us to a haunting question. Are abilities something a Pokémon is born with, or are they a gift granted by the world around them? As we move through the centuries, the timeline becomes even more complex. We encounter the darkest day in Galar, where the arrival of Eternatus flooded the land with Galar particles. This extraterrestrial influence didn't just change the size of Pokémon, it altered their fundamental frequency. The emergence of Dynamax and the peculiar abilities associated with it show us that the environment can force a rapid evolution of power. Then we have the great crater of Paldea, a place where time and space seem to fold in on themselves. The discovery of Herba Mystica and the subsequent rise of Titan Pokémon tell a story of how the very food a Pokémon consumes can rewrite its genetic code, granting it abilities that defy the standard laws of nature. But what about the abilities that were lost? Why is it that in certain eras, like the one documented in the Hisui region or the ancient past of the Kalos region, these powers seem to vanish or function differently. There is a theory that abilities are tied to the resonance of the planet itself, and as the world changes, so too does the way Pokémon express their inner strength. We will look at the introduction of hidden abilities, those rare and elusive traits that emerged from the dream world, suggesting that there is a psychic dimension to Pokémon biology that we are only beginning to understand. We will examine the inheritance of these powers, how a mother passes her essence down to her offspring, and how modern science has finally developed the ability patch to rewrite what was once thought to be permanent. Tonight, we are going on a journey that spans millions of years. We will travel from the bottom of the deepest oceans, where ancient fossils still carry the faint echoes of swift swim, to the highest peaks where the pressure of the atmosphere gave birth to pressure itself. We will investigate the worship of Melmetal, the liquid metal deity that could create matter from nothing, and ask ourselves if modern science has truly captured the majesty of these powers, or if we have merely put a name to something that will always be beyond our full comprehension. This is the story of how life adapts, how it survives, and how it thrives in a world filled with wonder and danger. It is a story of evolution, from the simplest shell armor to the most complex tactical telepathy. So, settle in, let the weight of the day fade away, and prepare to walk through the long, hidden history of the powers that define the Pokémon world. We are going deep into the lore, into the archives of the professors and the legends of the elders, to uncover the truth behind the abilities that have shaped every battle, every journey, and every dream. In the shadowed beginnings of the Pokémon world, long before any trainer flipped a switch to reveal a hidden power, every battle unfolded in silence. Pokémon like your faithful Charizard or Venusaur charged into combat defined only by their raw stats, their moves, all and the grind of experience points. No invisible traits lurking beneath the surface, no abilities shaping the fray from within. Picture the Kanto region as it first appeared in those pixelated days of red and blue. You, as the young protagonist, wandered from Pallet Town to the Indigo Plateau, catching wild Rattata in tall grass that rustled under a 16-bit breeze. Each Pokémon in your party was a blank canvas, mechanically speaking. Sure, they had individual values tucked away in the code, those subtle variances in attack or speed that made one Pidgey slightly fiercer than another, but nothing like a codified internal trait to declare its essence. No blaze to ignite when health dipped low, no levitate to shrug off earthquakes. Battles were pure attrition, type matchups, speed tiers, and the occasional critical hit from sheer luck. Trainers relied on strategy alone, predicting outcomes based on observable strengths, not some programmed secret waiting to activate. This was the pre-Generation 3 world, a realm where Pokémon's inner natures remained utterly uncharted, their potential locked in narrative whispers rather than game code. That mechanical silence mirrored a deeper lore hush. Ancient seas teemed with primordial creatures, like Anorith, scuttling across ocean floors with 8 sturdy legs that, over eons, would evolve into delicate wings, birthing entire lines of bug Pokémon. High above, in the ozone layer, Rayquaza slumbered for millions of years until the Draconid people's fervent prayers stirred its spiritual energy during the clash of Groudon and Kyogre. Yet none of these beings announced their powers through status screens. About 1 million years ago, the great crater of Paldea scarred the Earth in a mystery still unsolved, its depths hiding Herba Mystica that would one day forge Titan Pokémon. These events echoed through time, hinting at innate forces bubbling beneath, but in the games of that era, they stayed dormant. Fast forward to just 3,000 years ago, when the darkest day engulfed Galar. Eternamax Eternatus crashed from the stars inside a meteor, leaking Galar particles that warped power spots across the land. Pokémon swelled to gigantic sizes, Dynamaxing in a frenzy, until Zacian and Zamazenta, flanked by 2 human youths, sealed the chaos and claimed thrones. 200 years back, explorer Heath plunged into Area Zero, unearthing those mystic herbs and awakening the first titans. Powers manifested, raw, cataclysmic, but never as selectable traits in a menu. Worshippers knelt before Melmetal in forgotten rituals, revering its gift to forge metal from thin air, a divine ability etched in stone altars long before any cartridge could simulate it. Here's where the intrigue thickens. That narrative gap between the red and blue era and the sudden awakening of innate powers. You trained your starter through Victory Road, badges gleaming on your case, oblivious to the storm brewing. Generation 1 and 2, Kanto, Johto, painted a world of harmony through capture and command, where Pokemon's uniqueness stemmed from shininess or held items at best. No one whispered of inner abilities during Elm's errands or Lance's dragon roars. Then abruptly, Ruby and Sapphire arrive, and every Pokemon carries a trait that flips battles on its head. Did the world change? Or did we finally learn to see what was always there? The code evolved, retrofitting these silent giants with voices, but the lore suggests a veil lifting, not a creation from nothing. Early Pokédex entries, those cryptic tomes compiled by scholars across regions, hinted at abilities long before they were programmed into the code. Take Kadabra. Its mustache spoon bends with psychic might, but whispers persist of a boy, overwhelmed by uncontrollable powers, twisted into this form, a grim reminder that some traits are curses as much as gifts. Latios and Latios drift eternally airborne, inspired by the martlet of legend, a bird that never touches earth. Its levitate not a glitch but a mythic truth encoded in feathers. Ghastly's gaseous haze evades ground shakes instinctively, a spectral dodge jotted in Professor Oak's notes years prior. And these weren't mechanics, they were folklore fragments, breadcrumbs from a world where powers simmered in bloodlines and stars, awaiting codification. Even in later echoes, like the simplified realms of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, or the wilds of Legends Arceus, abilities vanish again, functionally absent, as if the timeline branches into pockets where the silence reigns eternal. Pokémon Legends. CA looms on the horizon, promising more such voids. These gaps aren't oversights, they're portals to understanding how abilities wove from mysticism into machinery, from Rayquaza's ozone descent to Melmetal's molten miracles. Yet that silence shattered in Hoenn's emerald shores, where latent forces finally stirred into the light. What cataclysm or discovery flipped the switch on these hidden traits? That's the mystery we'll unravel in Chapter 2, the Hoenn Awakening. That narrative gap from the red and blue era lingered like a shadow over the Pokémon world, where battles raged without any whisper of hidden internal traits, stirring beneath the surface. Pokémon fought with raw moves and stats alone, their essences untapped, as if the very concept of innate powers hadn't yet rippled through the regions. But in Hoenn, amid volcanic peaks and endless oceans, that silence shattered. In the year 2003, with the arrival of Ruby and Sapphire, developers unveiled what they called biological special abilities, innate traits woven into a Pokémon's very biology, activating passively in the heat of battle or the shift of environments. Picture a Swampert wading through Hoenn's flooded caves. Here sits torrent ability, surging water power when health dwindles, or a Camerupt erupting magma from its hump under the desert sun, its magma armor shielding it from freezes that no other Pokémon could shrug off. These weren't just gameplay tweaks. They marked the dawn of Pokémon, revealing facets of themselves long dormant, as if Hoenn's primal energies, Groudon's earth-shaking roars, and Kyogre's tidal fury had unlocked something evolutionary in every species. This Hoenn awakening carried profound lore implications, suggesting Pokémon across the world suddenly began manifesting unique environmental interactions that bent reality around them. Levitate allowed ghostly types like Ghastly to hover untouched by ground assaults, phasing through earthquakes that would crumble mountains. A Pokémon like Skarmory, with its keen eye, pierced illusions in misty forests, spotting foes through fog that blinded trainers and rivals alike. These abilities implied a global shift, perhaps Rayquaza's ancient descent from the ozone layer, halting the primal clash of legends millions of years prior, had left residual energies seeping into the land. Or maybe the Draconid people's prayers, channeling spiritual force for mega-evolutions, echoed forward, awakening these traits in modern Pokémon. In Hoenn's lore, rivers teemed with Pokémon whose swift swim turned them into blurs during rain, mirroring Kyogre's storms, while fire types like Torkoal glowed brighter in sunlit craters, their drought pulling clouds apart to fuel endless flames. It was as if the region itself, forged in cataclysm, catalyzed a biological renaissance, where Pokémon no longer just existed, they interacted with the world in ways that reshaped battles and ecosystems alike. Not every species embraced this awakening equally. Certain Pokémon, like the steadfast Aron munching iron in Granite Cave, were bound to a single trait, sturdy, ensuring they endured fatal blows that would fell others, a nod to their unyielding metallic hides forged in Hoenn's depths. Why this limitation? Lore whispers of evolutionary bottlenecks, simpler organisms, closer to primordial ancestors, like Anorith's ancient seas, hadn't diverged enough for multifaceted potentials. Aron's lineage, tied to ore veins untouched by Hoenn's clashing legends, manifested one pure survival instinct unadorned. Contrast this with dual potential bearers like Mightyena, whose intimidate cowed foes on sight, or Quick Feet propelled it through ailments. Species with broader habitats, roaming Hoenn's savannas and shadows, adapting to both predator and prey roles. Developers mirrored this in Ruby and Sapphire's code. Some Pokédex entries locked a single slot, reflecting lore where environmental pressures selected for specialization. A Numel, baking in Fiery Path, carried only blaze or magma armor initially, its volcanic niche demanding focused heat mastery. Yet others, like the versatile Breloom, hinted at untapped duality, effect spore for poisonous spores, or technician amplifying tiny strikes, foreshadowing generations where hidden layers would emerge. Delve deeper into those early Hoenn battles, and you sense the unease rippling through trainers' logs. A young rival in Slateport City might scribble notes on a Wingull's drizzle, summoning rain that empowered its water gun into a deluge, wondering if this was mutation from Kyogre's nearby slumber or something awakening worldwide. Pokédex scans from Rustboro Gym buzzed with data, sandstream from Tyranitar whipping sandstorms that halved special attacks, turning Hoenn's deserts into no man's lands. These interactions weren't random, they echoed the region's fractured history, where Meteor Fall's fossils stirred with ancient might, perhaps imprinting abilities onto revived Lileep or Cradley, suction cups anchoring them against whirlpools, a trait born from primordial seas where eight-legged swimmers evolved wings over eons. As Ruby and Sapphire's waves crashed across the globe, all whispers spread of Pokémon in distant lands exhibiting similar sparks, Kanto's Ghastly floating defiantly, Johto's Heracross guts fueled through poison. Had Hoenn's awakening triggered a chain reaction, abilities propagating like a viral evolution? Trainers debated in Lilycove's contest halls, were these special abilities always latent, suppressed until Hoenn's primal pulse released them? Entries for Kadabra hinted at darker roots, psychic surges transforming humans into Pokémon, their spoons bending spoons as synchronized mirrored status ailments, a power too volatile for pre-awakening worlds. Even Melmetal's ancient worship by humans, forging metal from ether, suggested abilities as cultural cornerstones now codified. Yet this duality's origins puzzled scholars. Why dual potential for adaptable survivors like Absol, super luck-piercing critical hits, or justified powering up against dark strikes, while fossils like Armaldo clung to battle armor alone. Hoenn's lore points to divergence timelines, dual trait Pokémon often hailed from contested biomes, like Route 112's swamps breeding dual-natured Breloom, pressured by floods and foes. Single-trait kin, rooted in isolation, like Relicanth in abyssal trenches, evolved streamlined survival, their pressure ability draining foe, PP as a deep-sea defense, unneed of versatility. These special abilities transformed Hoenn's fabric, Pokémon weaving spells into the air, soundproof nullifying roars in Sootopolis's domes, arena trap ensnaring runners on Victory Road's cliffs. Battles evolved from brute force to symphonies of interaction, high rain dance teams blooming under Pelipper's drizzle, Sandvale squads vanishing in Hippowdon storms. The 2003 shift didn't just add mechanics, it retrofitted the Pokémon world with a hidden history, implying abilities simmered since the Silent Era, awaiting Hoenn's call. But peel back further, and you'll uncover forces predating even Hoenn's volcanoes, forces that birthed these traits in the planet's fiery core. Coming up in Chapter 3, Primordial Forces, we descend into the Earth's molten heart, where abilities weren't awakened but forged in cataclysms older than Rayquaza's flight. What if the true origin lies not in 2003's code, but in craters carved 1 million years ago? Stay with me as we unearth those lost powers. As Ruby and Sapphire unlocked those first special abilities, revealing how Pokémon could bend environments to their will, igniting flames in rain, absorbing blows like sponges, or slicing through steel with ease. The true roots of these powers plunge far deeper, into an era when the world was still a churning cauldron of molten rock and endless ocean. We're talking about primordial forces, the raw, unbridled energies that shaped life itself, long before continents drifted into place, or skies cleared for flight. Deep beneath those ancient seas where sunlight barely pierced the murky depths, creatures like Anorith scuttled across primordial seabeds, their armoured bodies glinting faintly in the gloom of hydrothermal vents. These fossil Pokémon weren't just survivors, they were architects of evolution's wildest leaps. Picture the seafloor alive with their kind, small or trilobite-like forms with razor-sharp claws propelled by 8 powerful legs that gripped volcanic rock and silt alike. Anorith thrived in that pressure cooker world, feeding on microscopic prey amid toxic plumes rising from the Earth's wounds. But survival demanded more than endurance, it demanded adaptation, and that's where the story turns skyward. Over eons, as seas receded and landmasses heaved upward, Anorith's lineage faced the ultimate trial, escaping the drowning cradle of the ocean. Those 8 legs, once perfect for crawling through crushing depths, began to elongate, lighten, hollow out, like bamboo stalks under relentless selective pressure. Joints softened into hinges, membranes stretched between segments, catching updrafts from warming air pockets. What started as paddles for navigating currents morphed into sails for gliding over tidal pools, then true wings that sliced through the thin atmosphere above exposed reefs. This wasn't mere chance, it was primordial force at work, the same inexorable drive that would echo in abilities centuries later. Examining Anorith and the transition from ancient seas to the skies reveals a blueprint for aerial dominance. Fossil records etched in Hoenn's cliffs show intermediates, half-leg, half-wing forms, frozen in amber-like resin, hinting at a migration that birthed entire bug lineages. Armaldo, Anorith's revived behemoth kin, still carries echoes of that seafaring past in its scythe arms. But the true legacy soars higher. Those evolved descendants, buzzing swarms of ancient skies, harnessed speed as their weapon, darting through storm clouds where predators lurked. This biological evolution of 8 legs into wings stands as a precursor to the speed boost ability, that relentless accelerator seen in modern flyers like Yanmega. Imagine the selective advantage: early proto-bugs with proto-wings, outpacing rivals by fractions of seconds, spiraling higher to evade sea spray or snatch airborne krill. Each generation amplified that edge, muscles tuning for burst propulsion, wings veining with lightweight chitin, senses sharpening to predict wind shifts. Speed boost isn't just a game trait, it's the ghost of a Norith's ascent, a latent power where velocity compounds, turning a steady glide into a blurring streak. In the Primordial crucible, this wasn't ability, it was life or oblivion, wings unfurling like fate's own decree. Fossil Pokémon like Anorith open a window into the extinct abilities of the prehistoric world, powers long buried under sediment, but whispering through revived bones. Revived in labs from Devon Corporation relics, they don't just walk again, they unleash traits tailored to vanished ecosystems. Anorith's battle armor shrugs off strikes like ocean waves on carapace, a holdover from dodging abyssal predators. Armaldo's swift swim surges in rain, evoking monsoons that once flooded coastal nurseries. These aren't coincidences, they're snapshots of a menagerie of lost potentials, abilities honed against mega tsunamis, superstorms, and tectonic fury. Consider the broader fossil roster. Kabuto's weak armor crumbles under pressure to boost evasion, mirroring soft-bodied ancestors, shedding shells in oxygen-poor shallows. Anomanite's swift swim propelled it through Cambrian currents, teeming with anomalocaris horrors. Cradley's suction cups anchored it to reefs battered by asteroid wakes. Each revival peels back layers of time, exposing abilities as evolutionary heirlooms, extinct not because they failed, but because the world changed. What if Speed Boost's frenzy was once universal among sky pioneers? Or if Rockhead's fearless charges let Rampardos shatter mountains without recoil? Fossils aren't mere curiosities. They're vaults of primordial forces, abilities that ruled when Pokémon were gods of tooth and claw. These ancient transitions set the stage for powers that would one day define battles across regions, but whispers from Hoenn's ozone heights hint at even grander interventions. In the next chapter, the Draconid prophecy, we'll uncover how sky serpents and forgotten prayers awakened megaforces that dwarfed even Anorith's wings. What cataclysm forced a dragon from the heavens after millions of years, and why it binds directly to the evolution of legendary abilities. As Anorith's ancient legs stretched into wings, piercing the veil between sea and sky, the Pokémon world began to grasp the true dominion of the heavens. But millions of years later, it was the Draconid people of Hoenn who first truly communed with those upper realms, their eyes fixed on a serpent god descending from the ozone layer itself. These nomadic guardians, etched into the stone tablets of Meteor Falls, carried a prophecy passed down through generations. A promise that Rayquaza, the sky-high dragon, would return when land and sea threatened to devour the world. Picture the Hoenn of that primordial age, shrouded in endless storm and scorching drought. The earth cracked under relentless sun, while oceans rose in furious torrents, swallowing continents whole. This was no mere natural disaster. It was the raw fury of two titans locked in eternal strife. Groudon, the continent Pokémon, embodied the blistering drought ability, its mere presence evaporating seas and igniting the ground into molten fury. Kyogre, the sea basin Pokémon, countered with drizzle, summoning deluges that drowned the land in shadowy depths. Their conflict stood as the ultimate clash of weather-altering traits. Primal abilities so potent, they reshaped the planet's very climate, forcing all life to cower in the crossfire. The Draconids, dwelling in the shadow of Mount Pyre and the craters of their rugged homeland, sensed the imbalance long before the skies split open. They gathered in hidden shrines, their voices rising in chants that echoed through caverns and across windswept plateaus. This wasn't blind ritual. It was a deliberate invocation, drawing on the collective spiritual energy of the Hoenn ancestors. and its connection to Rayquaza's airlock. That ability, you see, doesn't just negate weather, it seals the atmosphere itself, creating an impenetrable barrier where no rain falls, no sun scorches, no storm rages. The ancestor's essence, woven into the ozone layer over eons, formed Rayquaza's shield, a living membrane that held the world's chaos at bay. When the dragon finally descended, coiling through thunderheads, with scales gleaming like fractured emeralds, it was that ancestral energy that awakened something deeper. The Draconid's prayers surged upward, a torrent of faith and memory, fueling Rayquaza's primal ascent, what we'd later recognize as the precursor to Mega Evolution. In that moment, the serpent's form elongated, its airlock intensifying to smother the warring weathers below. Groudon's drought flickered and died. Kyogre's drizzle evaporated into mist. The planet exhaled, saved by a power unlocked not through battle or stone, but through human devotion. Delve deeper into those Draconid rites, and you uncover a profound truth about abilities before they were ever named. Their oral histories, preserved in the flickering light of lava lamps and meteor fragments, recount how the people meditated on Rayquaza's traits, visualizing its serene dominion over the skies. This wasn't passive worship, it was active reprogramming. Prayer and historical memory served as the first ability patches in human history, tools to overwrite a Pokemon's latent potential when the world demanded it. Just as modern trainers use those rare items to swap a Pokemon's hidden trait for one more suited to the fight, the Draconids patched Rayquaza's core with their unified will, granting it the strength to intervene. Imagine the scenes etched in those ancient murals, robed figures kneeling before skyward spires, their breaths syncing with the wind, recounting tales of Rayquaza's past flights. Each retelling reinforced the bond, etching airlock deeper into the dragon's essence. It was collective belief made manifest, a spiritual hack that bypassed biology. Without it, Rayquaza slumbered in the ozone, indifferent to the carnage below. With it, the ability activated, halting the apocalypse. This predates any Pokédex entry by millions of years, proving abilities weren't invented in some Hoenn lab in 2003. They were awakened by humanity's earliest alliances with legendaries. The Draconids didn't stop there. Their prophecy foretold Rayquaza's return not once, but whenever imbalance threatened. They built observatories in the highest peaks, training successors to maintain that spiritual tether. Over millennia, as Hoenn's tribes evolved into cities, that energy lingered, subtly influencing every Pokémon that soared above. Rayquaza's airlock became the archetype for all weather nullifying traits, a reminder that abilities could be communal, not solitary. Even today, in the games, when you slot an ability patch and watch a Pokémon's nature shift, you're echoing those ancient voices, patching not just code, but destiny. This legacy rippled outward, seeding the idea that human intent could shape Pokémon powers. The Draconid's chants evolved into the ballads of Meteor Falls, where guardians still whisper of the serpent's grace. Their story bridges the primordial skies of Anorith to the formalized abilities of Ruby and Sapphire, showing how spiritual energy predated mechanical slots. Without those first patches of prayer, Rayquaza might never have stirred, and Hoenn would be seabed or desert. Yet amid this celestial salvation, questions linger about other Skydwellers and their elusive lifts. Up next, Chapter 5, The Mystery of Levitation, a trait that defies gravity itself, with origins tied to birds that never touch the earth. What secrets do Latias and her kin hold, and how does it rewrite our understanding of flight? As the Draconid prayers wove spiritual energy into Rayquaza's airlock, altering the very skies of Hoenn, a deeper curse lingered in the winds, binding certain Pokémon to eternal suspension above the ground. Levitate isn't just a shield against earthquakes or a clever evasion. It's a biological imperative, etched into the essence of beings too volatile to ever settle. Consider Latios and Latias, the Eon duo, siblings of shimmering red and blue, forever gliding through clouds like ghosts in the ether. Their forms pulse with psychic radiance, draconic scales humming beneath translucent wings, but they never descend. This isn't mere preference, it's a curse rooted in medieval heraldry, the myth of the martlet, a footless bird, symbol of perpetual motion, destined never to touch the earth, lest its divine swiftness falter. In Pokémon lore, this translates directly. Latios and Latios embody that eternal wanderer, their levitate ability a hard-coded exile from solid ground. Folklore whispers that the martlet, hatched from a celestial egg, would dissolve into mist if it landed, its body too pure, too unbound by gravity's grasp. So too, with these legendary guardians, born from the same psychic draconic forge that birthed Rayquaza's kin, their energy fields repel the soil like oil on water. Why this curse? Delve into their biology, and the necessity sharpens into focus. Latios and Latios emerge from a fusion of raw psychic force and ancient draconic vitality, energies that clash like storm fronts if confined. Psychic power, amplified by their gemstone hearts, generates a constant levitational aura, a quantum repulsion born of unstable particles. Touch the earth, and that aura destabilizes. Draconic plasma leaks, scorching the ground, while psychic waves ripple outward, shattering stone or mines nearby. Imagine their underbellies, sleek and armored, humming with contained fury. Grounding them would ignite chain reactions, unraveling their forms into vaporous chaos. It's no accident they haunt Southern Island or roam Hoenn's ozone fringes. Mirroring Rayquaza's domain, Levitate sustains them, a perpetual engine converting psychic intent into anti-gravitic thrust, ensuring their draconic fire never ignites the world below. This power's origins stretch back, predating Generation 3's codification, to primordial skies where dragon lines first clashed with mind-bending forces. In Hoenn's ancient lore, whispers among the Draconids hint at proto-Latios forms, spectral scouts dispatched by Rayquaza to survey the ozone layer during Groudon and Kyogre's primordial wars. These precursors, unstable hybrids of thought and scale, learned to levitate instinctively, their abilities awakening not through prayer but evolutionary desperation, survival demanding flight from cataclysmic floods and quakes. Over eons, as meteorites seeded psychic crystals into draconic bloodlines, Levitate crystallized as the signature, a lost power refined through isolation. Yet the mystery deepens when you gaze at other Pokémon, those that mimic flight but remain earthbound. Deny this gift, despite appearances screaming for it. Take Flygon, the desert mirage dragon, its wings vast as a Tropius, vibrating to ultrasonics that warp desert sands into illusions. It soars effortlessly, yet no levitate graces its kit, grounded by choice or curse. Its biology favors terrestrial hunts, armored legs digging vibra traps while wings propel bursts, not sustenance. Levitate would starve its predatory roots, severing the seismic sensors that detect buried prey through quaking earth. Or consider Vibrava, Flygon's pupil stage, hovering on rotor wings like a living helicopter. Still it touches down, cocooned in soil to pupate, its draconic energy tempered by bug-like metamorphosis, too earthy for pure suspension. Even Tropius itself, the fruit-laden saurian with leafy wings broad enough to shade villages, lumbers on sturdy legs, munching savanna grasses. Those neck fronds double as sails, granting flight in warm updrafts, but Levitate eludes it. Its massive frame, herbivore bulk, demands ground for rooting terra berries, stability over ethereal drift. Why deny these grounded giants? Their forms evolved for symbiosis with terrain. Flygon sands, Tropius's groves, Vibrava's dunes. Levitate would exile them from ecosystems, turning predators into nomads, grazers into ghosts. It's a deliberate evolutionary veto, psychic draconic purity reserved for the Eon twins, lest the skies overcrowd with untethered titans. Ponder Yanmega 2, the prehistoric helicopter of skies, its four wings blurring to helicopter roar, slicing air with razor precision. It hovers mid-hunt, snatching prey from branches, yet clings to earth in lore, fossilized in Kalos cliffs. No levitate, its bug-dragon hybrid craves moist soil for laying eggs, ancient instincts overriding aerial supremacy. These denials reveal Levitate's exclusivity, not for the adaptable but the cursed purebreds. whose power would corrupt if grounded. In Hoenn's hidden archives, trainers once sought ability patches mimicking Draconid rites, hoping to graft levitate onto these earthhuggers. Failures abounded. Zygon prototypes scorched deserts untethered. Tropius flocks scattered leaderless into storms. The ability resists transplantation, bound to bloodlines where psychic and draconic energies entwine without compromise. This eternal float hints at greater upheavals when abilities surged beyond control, dynamaxing wild across regions in a cataclysm known as the Darkest Day. In our next chapter, Chapter 6, The Darkest Day, we'll uncover how Eternatus's fall shattered these balances, birthing giants that mocked gravity itself and forever altered Pokemon's innate powers, while Latios and Latias drift eternally above the ground, bound by their levitating curse. Another cosmic force would crash down into the Pokemon world with a gravity all its own, pressing the very air from the skies over Galar. Thousands of years ago, a meteor tore through the atmosphere above the rugged hills and misty moors of that ancient region. It wasn't just rock and fire plummeting from the stars, but a vessel carrying something alive, something alien. Eternatus, the extraterrestrial dragon of pure energy, embedded itself deep into the earth upon impact. From its colossal body began to steep a strange substance. Galar particles, shimmering motes that infused the soil, the rivers, and the very winds. These particles marked the true arrival of Eternatus and the introduction of Galar particles to the timeline, rewriting the rules of power in Galar forever. Over millennia, they gathered at sacred sites known as power spots, places where the land itself hummed with potential, waiting for the right catalyst to unleash it. You can almost feel the subtle shift in those early days, can't you? Pokemon grazing in the fields or soaring through the clouds began to sense it, a faint otherworldly hum beneath their feet. The particles bonded with their cells, altering DNA on a fundamental level, priming them for transformations no creature had ever endured. It was as if the stars had gifted, or cursed, the region with a new form of life force, one that demanded expansion, growth beyond natural limits. But Eternatus slumbered uneasily, its energy building like pressure in a fault line. Then came the Darkest Day, roughly 3,000 years before the events of the 8th generation. The beast awoke in its ultimate form, Eternamax, a towering aberration of writhing black tendrils and radiant purple core dwarfing mountains. It unleashed a cataclysmic pulse across Galar, flooding the land with Dynamax energy. Pokemon everywhere swelled to gigantic sizes, their bodies warping into Gigantamax forms, rampaging without control. Cities crumbled under colossal feet. Forests were flattened by tails the size of rivers, and the sky choked with dust and roars that echoed for days. In the heart of this chaos stood the pressure ability, Eternatus's signature trait. And it wasn't mere metaphor. Pressure reflects the literal weight of this extraterrestrial presence, an oppressive aura that drains the stamina of any Pokemon daring to stand near it. Imagine the air thickening, heavy as lead, every breath laboured, every move sapping strength twice as fast. It's the gravitational pull of an invader from beyond, compressing the world beneath its influence, forcing lesser beings to kneel or shatter. Scouts who approached the epicenter reported their own Pokemon collapsing, exhausted before a single attack landed, as if the dragon's mere existence bore down like an invisible ocean. The land cried out, the particles amplifying the nightmare, turning allies into behemoths lost to instinct. Humanity teetered on extinction, their Stone Age settlements buried under the feet of former companions. Yet from the shadows of legend emerged salvation. Zacian and Zamazenta, the twin wolves of Galar, forged in the fires of ancient heroism. Sword and shield in living form, they charged into the fray alongside two brave human youths, destined to become the first kings of the realm. Zacian, with her rusted sword gleaming as it reformed into radiant steel, sliced through the Dynamax hordes, her behemoth blade cleaving energy barriers like paper. Zamazenta, armored shield unyielding, absorbed the brunt of Eternatus's assaults, her body a bulwark against the tidal waves of power. Together, they neutralized the overwhelming supernatural traits flooding the region. The unchecked Dynamax growth, the berserk rages, the particle-induced mutations. Their presence acted like a counterforce, stabilizing the chaos, forcing Eternatus back into dormancy and sealing the particle's wild influence. The wolves didn't just fight, they restored balance, their own abilities emerging as the perfect antidote to an alien onslaught. In the aftermath, Galar rebuilt around these power spots, now harnessed for stadium battles, where trainers call upon controlled Dynamaxing, but whispers persist in old texts. Did Eternatus' pressure awaken latent traits in Pokémon across the world? Did the struggle birth new abilities, hidden pressures within every species, waiting for their moment? The darkest day scarred the timeline, embedding extraterrestrial might into the planet's core, a reminder that some powers arrive not as gifts, but as burdens to be tamed. And as the echoes of that calamity fade into myth, another enigma stirs in Paldea 200 years ago, pulling explorers into the depths of the Great Crater. What secrets of Titan Pokémon and Herba Mystica await in Chapter 7, The Great Crater Mystery? Drift deeper with me, and we'll uncover it all. As the crushing weight of Eternatus' pressure lingered over Galar for thousands of years, leaking those strange particles into the soil and sky, another cataclysm was quietly carving its mark across the world. One far older, buried deeper in Paldea's rugged heart. About 1 million years ago, the land there buckled under forces we still can't fully grasp. Swallowing mountains whole to birth the Great Crater, that colossal abyss known as Area Zero. Picture the scene if you can, though your eyes might already be heavy. A scar on the earth wider than some regions, its jagged rim rising like the teeth of some forgotten leviathan. Steam vents hiss eternally from its depths, carrying whispers of minerals unknown, while faint, iridescent light dances along the walls, echoes of an energy that seeped in when the crater first tore open. Geologists in the Pokémon world puzzle over it endlessly, their instruments going haywire near the edge, needles spinning wild as if the ground itself rejects measurement. What struck here, a meteor too vast to trace, the clash of ultra beasts breaching from another dimension, or something homegrown, a Pokémon of unimaginable power reshaping the continent in rage or rebirth. The Draconids of Hoenn spoke of Rayquaza intervening in primal wars, but Paldea's records from that era are dust, leaving us to sift through sediment layers that hold petrified scales and bones twisted in ways no fossil should be. Deep within this wound, the air thickens with a hum you can almost feel in your chest, a resonant pulse that warps light and sound. Explorers who venture too close report headaches that bloom into visions, fleeting glimpses of Pokémon not as they are now, but altered, their forms flickering between past and future. This is where we turn to investigating the 1 million-year-old formation of the Paldean Abyss, probing clues from the paradox Pokémon that roam its lower reaches. These creatures, yanked through time rifts at the crater's core, carry abilities warped beyond recognition, ancient Ravaroom belching flames that ignore type matchups, or futuristic Iron Valiant slicing with psychic edges that phase through defenses. The crater didn't just form, it became a forge tempering reality itself. That energy radiating from the depths ties directly into something profound, the connection between the crater's energy and the mutation of standard abilities. Terra crystals, those shimmering shards born from the abyss, pulse with the same frequency, allowing Pokémon to shatter their innate limits and assume new types entirely. A simple water type like Quaquaval suddenly erupts in stellar radiance, its abilities surging. Drizzle calling rains that empower not just itself, but allies in ways standard Drizzle never could. It's if the crater's power latched onto the biological quirks we'd later call abilities, back in Generation 3's Awakening, and began rewriting their code. Hidden abilities, those elusive traits unlocked in later eras, might trace their rarity here to mutations stabilized over eons, but only surfacing widely, when human breeders and patches mimicked the abyss's alchemy. Venturing lower, past the crystal-lit caverns, where Glimora blooms like toxic stars, the rules start to fray. Why the depths of Area Zero seem to rewrite the rules of Pokémon biology becomes chillingly clear. Pokémon emerge from those shadows with terrestrialized forms that persist, their abilities no longer fixed but fluid. Levitate, granting not just immunity, but outright teleportation bursts. Pressure evolving into an aura that drains stamina from foes across vast distances. Paradox variants push it further. Roaring Screamtail, with abilities that echo photosynthesis from a bygone dawn. Boosting speed under faint sunlight filtering through the rift-veined ceiling. The air down there vibrates with Terra energy, a byproduct of whatever cataclysm birthed the crater, fusing with Galar particles distant kin to mutate DNA on contact. Herba Mystica, those rare herbs plucked from the 0 point 200 years ago, only amplified it, turning ordinary beasts into titans, whose abilities swelled to godlike scales. Scholars whisper of Terrapagos, the turtle at the heart of it all, its shell a mosaic of every Terra type, radiating the pure force that stabilized the mutations. Consume a sliver of that power, and a Pokemon's ability doesn't just activate, it evolves, shedding limitations like old skin. This isn't random chaos, it's a deliberate unraveling. The Abyss acting as a laboratory where abilities, those Generation 3 innovations, find their deepest roots in prehistory. Rayquaza's airlock quelled ozone storms. Eternatus imposed pressure from the stars for Area Zero. It invites endless reinvention, pulling standard traits into hyper-evolved states that challenge what we thought Pokémon biology could endure. The first human expedition, led by Heath 2 centuries back, barely clawed their way out alive, their journals filled with sketches of glowing anomalies and Pokémon with eyes like fractured gems. They brought back Herba Mystica, igniting the Titan era, but the true secret pulsed on. A nexus where abilities weren't bestowed by birth or breeding, but forged in the crucible of cosmic anomaly. Feel that pull now, the crater's hum echoing in your thoughts as sleep tugs harder. It's the same energy that might explain why some Pokémon, even far from Paldea, occasionally manifest traits thought lost to time. And as we descend no further tonight, the ripples from those Titan Pokémon forged by Herba Mystica demand our gaze. Next, Chapter 8, The Titan Phenomenon, where we'll uncover how crater-born herbs twisted abilities into colossal forces that reshaped regions forever. What happens when that mutation scales up to threaten the world itself? Stay with me as we explore. Deep within the great crater of Paldea, those million-year-old energies didn't just mutate abilities in subtle ways. They set the stage for something far more explosive, a phenomena that would redefine what Pokémon could become when pushed beyond their natural limits. 200 years ago, an explorer named Heath gathered a team of brave souls and ventured into Area Zero, the heart of that colossal abyss. They descended through layers of mist-shrouded cliffs and bioluminescent fungi, their lanterns flickering against walls etched with prehistoric scars. Heath's journals, preserved to this day, capture the raw thrill of it all. Yellowed pages filled with sketches of glowing crystals and frantic notes on air thick with an otherworldly hum. What they found at the bottom wasn't just ancient rock. It was Herba Mystica, a cluster of radiant herbs pulsing with the crater's concentrated power, their leaves shimmering like captured starlight. These weren't ordinary plants. Pokémon that grazed on Herba Mystica underwent a cataclysmic shift, ballooning to titanic sizes and erupting with strength that shattered mountainsides. Heath witnessed the first Titan Pokémon firsthand, a humble Clorf, its shell cracking open as the herb coursed through its veins, transforming it into a colossal beast whose claws rent the earth like paper. This was the discovery of Herba Mystica and its role in the Titan transformation. A forced evolution that turned everyday creatures into walking cataclysms. Heath's accounts describe it vividly, the air growing heavy with the scent of crushed herbs, mingled with the metallic tang of ruptured stone. Pokémon didn't choose this power. The herb invaded their systems, rewriting their very essence. What makes this so pivotal in our timeline of abilities is how diet and environmental consumption can forcibly override a Pokemon's natural ability. Think of it. Traits like a Pokemon's speed or resilience, honed over generations, suddenly supplanted by something alien. A Titan bombardier, once content soaring on thermal winds, now hurled boulders the size of houses, its aerial grace twisted into siege engine fury. The sucrose from those herbs acted like a biological override code, amplifying type affinities while suppressing baseline abilities, creating hybrids of power no evolution stone could match. Heath scribbled warnings in his journals about these unnatural surges. The way a Titan Orthworm's burrowing instinct exploded into seismic quakes that collapsed expedition tunnels, or how Arven's loyal companion, once a gentle Miraidon, bore scars from resisting its own Titan-induced rage. These were the first recorded instances of unnatural power, not born from birth or battle, but force-fed through the crater's forbidden bounty. Heath noted Pokémon reverting after the herb's effects waned, their bodies scarred and abilities flickering like faulty lights, hinting at a fragile boundary between innate gift and imposed curse. Explorers after Heath pieced together more. The herbs drew from Paldea's paradoxical energies, those same forces that formed the crater eons ago. Consuming even a fragment triggered cellular frenzy. Muscles hypertrophying, bones densifying, abilities warping under the herb's chemical onslaught. A normal Dondozo might suppress an opponent's moves with its unaware trait, but as a Titan, it became an armored leviathan, its presence alone drowning foes in tidal might. The original ability all but erased. This override wasn't random. It targeted evolutionary weak points, forging weapons from what nature intended as balance. Generations of researchers pored over Heath's 200-year-old journals, cross-referencing them with modern scans of Area Zero soil. Traces of Herba Mystica linger in the ecosystem, subtly altering wild Pokémon even now. Pikachu nests near contaminated springs, birthing variants with erratic volt-absorbed spikes, overriding their standard static discharge. It's a reminder that abilities aren't etched in stone. They're malleable, vulnerable to the world around them. A diet laced with these herbs, or prolonged exposure to the crater's particles, could rewrite a Pokémon's core identity overnight. Yet Heath's final entries grow cryptic, pondering if humans tampering with such forces invited darker echoes. Titans raged across Paldea until tamed, their overridden powers leaving craters within craters, a testament to nature's backlash against artificial dominance. This forced override of abilities through consumption opens doors to even stranger possibilities, like the Kadabra paradox in our next chapter, a theory that blurs the line between human minds and Pokémon powers in ways that will leave you questioning the true origin of psychic dominance. While Herba Mystica could twist a Pokémon's core essence through sheer consumption, forcing abilities to mutate under environmental siege. What happens when the human mind itself becomes the battleground? Overloaded by powers it was never meant to wield. A single Pokédex entry from the earliest records cuts straight to the heart of this nightmare. Kadabra evolved not from some primordial egg, but from a young boy whose budding psychic gifts spiraled beyond control, reshaping his very flesh into this hunched, spoon-wielding psychic predator. Picture the scene in those shadowed corners of history, perhaps lingering in the aftermath of the Great Crater's formation 1,000,000 years ago, when latent energies still seeped into the soil and air. A child, gifted or cursed, discovers his thoughts bending spoons in the firelight of a remote village hearth. At first it's play, levitating pebbles, mirroring the moods of stray Pokémon nearby, but the power swells unchecked, psychic feedback looping like a storm in his skull. Synapses fire too brightly, bones warp under invisible pressure, skin pales to a sickly yellow as the human form buckles, eyes bulge, mustache sprouts unnaturally, and that cursed spoon becomes an extension of his fracturing will, amplifying the chaos until nothing human remains. This is the Kadabra paradox, transformation not as evolution, but as annihilation of self. We delve now into the dark lore of humans transforming into Pokémon via psychic overload. A thread woven through whispers in ancient texts and modern Pokédex footnotes. It's not isolated to one boy. Echoes appear in tales from Hoenn's Draconid shamans, who spoke of acolytes communing too deeply with Rayquaza's ozone aura, their minds overloading until they sprouted scales and psychic spoons of their own. In Galar, post-Darkest Day survivors reported wanderers exposed to Eternatus particles, their empathy for Dynamaxed beasts turning inward, bodies contorting into Abra-like husks that vanished into the mist. The process is visceral, headaches that split the cranium like thunder, visions of infinite Pokémon psyches flooding the consciousness, limbs elongating into claws as the DNA rewrites itself mid-scream. These weren't willing evolutions, they were psychic cataclysms, abilities birthing from human desperation, overwriting identity like Herba Mystica overrides instinct. At the paradox's core lies Synchronize, the ability Kadabra harbours in its hidden depths, the one that shares status ailments with any foe that dares strike it. Is Synchronize a remnant of human empathy? That boy's last tether to compassion, feeling your pain as he once felt his mother's worry, his playmate's laughter, now weaponized to mirror suffering back upon the attacker? Or is it purely predatory, a psychic trait honed in the wilds after transformation, where survival demands you inflict your torment on the hunter, turning vulnerability into venom? Consider the Abra line's nomadic life. They perch on psychic lie lines, meditating for days, absorbing ambient thoughts like sponges. For a former human, this ability might echo the isolation of overload, a desperate echo of connection twisted into curse. Empathy would heal through shared understanding. Predation thrives on mutual ruin. The Pokédex leans dark. It describes Kadabra teleporting away from threats, only engaging when cornered, Synchronize activating like a venomous reflex. This bleeds into profound ethical shadows, the implications of abilities originating from human consciousness. If Kadabra was once a child, every trainer commanding its psychic blasts, complicit in perpetuating a stolen soul. Do we celebrate Synchronize as clever strategy, or recoil at exploiting a boy's empathy gone feral? In Paldea's craters, where Titan energy still hum, unearthed fossils whisper of earlier overloads. Human mages from the Primordial era pushing too far, birthing abilities that outlived their creators. Breeding mechanics only deepen the horror. Females passing Synchronized with 60% certainty to hidden offspring, males through ditto proxies, diluting human essence across generations. Ability patches in modern labs, their grave-robbing tools, forcing latent human psyches to surface in unrelated Pokémon. What right do we have to wield these remnants, training what might be echoes of screams? Generations later, as abilities formalized in Ruby and Sapphire, this paradox lingered unspoken, a gen-free shadow amid the shine. Kadabra's single ability era gave way to dual slots, then hidden variants unlocked via ethereal dream world portals, as if the boy's restless mind leaked through digital veils. Levitate's eternal flight cursed Latios kin, pressure weighed Galar's skies. Now psychic overload births paradoxes that challenge our dominion. Trainers bond with these beings, yet the spoon gleams with unspoken accusation. Did you inherit my pain or inflict it anew? Yet the leaks didn't stop at hidden abilities. They seeped into realms beyond waking thought, where dreams unraveled the veil between human and Pokémon psyches entirely. Up next, Chapter 10, The Dream World Leak, uncovers how those virtual slumbers exposed forbidden powers, twisting the timeline in ways that still haunt our servers today. If Synchronize echoes the fractured humanity trapped within Kadabra, imagine what secrets lie buried even deeper in a Pokémon's essence. Powers not born of overload, but waiting patiently in the shadows of sleep. In the Unova region, during what researchers now call the Generation 5 breakthrough, a portal cracked open to these forgotten depths. The Entralink, that shimmering bridge between our world and the Pokémon dream world, became the key. It wasn't just a digital curiosity. It was a literal gateway, forged from the psychic resonances of sleeping Pokémon, allowing trainers to step into realms where abilities slumbered unseen. Picture the labs of Unova in those early days, buzzing with quiet anticipation. Scientists had catalogued abilities since their emergence 2 generations prior, but something felt incomplete. Pokémon like Darmanitan raged with sheer force, or so they thought, until the Entralink hummed to life. Trainers linked their consoles, and suddenly, they weren't just playing, they were delving. The dream world unfolded like mist over a midnight lake, twisting paths of cloud and memory, guarded by wisps of psychic energy. There, Pokémon revealed traits no field study had ever glimpsed. A quiet emulga, drifting on thermal currents, unleashed something electric and untamed. Hidden abilities, locked away until this breach. This wasn't random. At the heart of it pulsed Mashana, the drowsy guardian of dreams. Its body, a vast orb of swirling pink and purple nebula, exhaled dream mist that carried the weight of subconscious. In the wild, Mashana floats through forests at dusk, trailing veils of this mist that soothe restless minds and blur the line between wakefulness and reverie. But when channeled through the Entralink, that mist became a catalyst. It seeped into the Pokémon's very core, stirring dormant genes. Strands of DNA coiled tight since ancient times, perhaps from the primordial seas or the ozone descents of Rayquaza. These weren't mutations from craters or titans. They were originals, etched into the blueprint, long before humans scratched their first Pokeball. Researchers whispered of a biological poetry here. Every Pokémon carries these genes, vestiges of evolutionary what-ifs. A gene for Blaze might twist into solar power under the right dream pressure, amplifying fire to harvest sunlight itself. Or take Reuniclus, its cells already brimming with psychic potential. The mist unlocks Magic Guard, shielding it from the world's subtle poisons. The narrative took hold quickly. Dormant genes, activated solely by Mashana's dream mist. In the dream world, trainers nurtured their partners through berry groves and puzzle lairs, and as bonds deepened, the mist would coalesce. A faint glow, a shiver in the air, and the Pokémon emerged changed, not evolved but unveiled. Hidden abilities weren't inventions. They were leaks from a parallel reality, where every Pokémon dreamed its truest self. Yet for over 4 decades, these rare powers evaded the sharpest eyes. Why? The answer lies in the veil of sleep itself. Since abilities first surfaced in Hoenn's labs around the turn of the century, studies focused on the waking world, battles, habitats, quantifiable traits. Pokémon in captivity or the wild rarely enter true dream states deep enough to trigger the genes. Mashana's mist, potent as it is, dissipates quickly outside its natural nocturnal cycles, and wild encounters with the beast are fleeting whispers. Researchers dissected cells under microscopes, scanned auras with machines, but dormant genes mimic standard ones perfectly until provoked. No scanner pings the invisible, no blood test reveals a dream. It took the Entralink's fusion of technology and psychic anomaly to force the leak. Bridging human curiosity with Mashana's ethereal exhale, envision the first documented case. A trainer's Joltik, normally skittering with compound eyes, tumbling through a dream world hollow. Mist enveloped it, genes uncoiled like springs in moonlight, and compound eyes sharpened into unnerve, silencing foes' items with a psychic hush. Labs scrambled to replicate it post-Entralink, but without the dream bridge, results faltered. The mist's composition, psychic particles laced with trace Galar-like energies, perhaps echoes from ancient meteor falls, demands a symbiotic trigger. Pokémon must be at rest, vulnerable, their psyche open. 40 years of data overlook this, because science chased the visible raw, ignoring the silent dream. This leak reshaped everything. Hidden abilities flooded into breeding lines, inheritance chains tightening their grip. Females passed them with 60% precision, males through Ditto's neutral lens, each egg a gamble on awakening. Patches later mimic the mist's effect, but purists argue nothing rivals the organic surge. Unova's breakthrough didn't just add powers, it proved abilities evolve in layers, dream-feeding reality. Mushana watches still, its eyes like fractured galaxies, exhaling mists that hint at more. Those dormant genes whisper of codes far older, twisting through millennia from Kadabra's psychic scars to Titan overrides. What script governs their silence and song? We'll decode that blueprint in Chapter 11, the genetic code, revealing how these powers rewrite themselves across bloodlines and time. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. Those dormant genes, unlocked by the Dream Mist ethereal touch, carry a deeper secret, one etched into the Pokémon world's ancient code of inheritance. Picture the nurseries of the wild, where eggs pulse with unseen potential, their shells veined like marble under moonlight. Here, the science of inheritance reveals itself. Why the female line dictates 80% of a Pokémon's potential, channeling traits through bloodlines that stretch back to the primordial seas. It begins with the mother. In every clutch of eggs, her essence dominates, imprinting 80% of the offspring's core capabilities: her speed, her resilience, the flicker of fire in her breath, or the unyielding grip of her vines. These flow directly from her, unfiltered, shaping the child's destiny before it even hatches. Males contribute, yes, but their influence dilutes to mere echoes, 20% at best, like whispers lost in a storm. This isn't mere biology. It's a safeguard woven into Pokémon evolution, honed over eons from the bug-like ancestors crawling from Anorith's ancient forms to the soaring dragons of Hoenn's skies. Females, guardians of the nest, preserve the species' strength, ensuring that Rayquaza's ozone-born might or the Draconid's prayed for megaforms endure through the haze of time. But what of the outliers? The rare sparks, those hidden abilities that slumber until the Entralink's call. Enter Ditto, the universal genetic bridge for passing down rare traits. This amorphous wanderer, a blob of pure adaptability, defies the rigid rules of gender and form. When a male Pokémon pairs with Ditto, or even a genderless enigma like Rotom, Ditto becomes the vessel, mirroring and ferrying traits that would otherwise vanish into oblivion. No scales, no feathers, no psychic hum. Ditto absorbs, transforms, and delivers. It's why breeders in the shadowed corners of Kalos whisper of Ditto as the great equalizer, smuggling the elusive chlorophyll of a sun-kissed Venusaur or the ghostly cursed body of a Spiritomb across incompatible lines. Without Ditto, the male's legacy would fracture. With it, rarity becomes legacy, bridging chasms that nature alone can't span. Yet even this bridge trembles under the 60% rule. The relentless struggle to maintain hidden abilities across generations when a female passes her hidden power. Say the photosynthesis that lets a future Titan bask in Paldea's crater glow. The odds plummet to 60%. Her daughters might inherit the standard slot, the visible ability that trainers see at a glance, leaving the hidden one to fade like mist at dawn. Males through Ditto face the same gamble, 60% to awaken that dormant gene in the egg. Generation after generation, it slips away, diluted by the wild's chaos or the breeder's haste. This is the genetic attrition that haunted the post-Darkest Day wilds of Galar, where Eternatus's particles amplified some traits but starved others into rarity. Hidden abilities aren't gifts, they're fragile heirlooms, demanding precision. Ability patches forged in modern labs, or the patient vigil of dreamers tapping the Entralink to keep them alive. Feel the weight of this code in the timeline's folds. 1 million years ago, as the great crater scarred Paldea, the first mutation stirred, abilities twisting under Herba Mystica's influence. 3,000 years back, the Darkest Day's Dynamax frenzy scattered genes like shrapnel, with pressure abilities echoing Eternatus's crush, long after the hero's blades fell silent. Even Kadabra's shadowed origin, a boy warped by psychic overload, hints at inheritance gone awry. Synchronized pulsing as a half-remembered human plea, females carried those early codes through the ages, Ditto weaving the exceptions. But the 60% rule ensured only the fittest endured, weeding out the weak sparks before Generation 3's codification brought them to light. In Hoenn's ancient prayers, Rayquazar's descent wasn't just power, it was inheritance manifest, mega evolution rippling from Draconid bloodlines preserved by unyielding mothers. Imagine the eggs laid in those ozone-veiled heights. 80% Rayquazar's airy command, 60% the hidden delta stream that could cloak storms. Breeders today chase that echo, battling the rule's entropy with Ditto's fluid grace, patching abilities like Heath once delved Area Zero for Mystica roots. Yet the struggle persists. Hidden abilities flicker in Let's Go's simplified wilds or Legends Arceus's untamed Hisui, absent or raw, reminding us these powers predate games, born in the world's marrow. This genetic lattice, 80% maternal, might bridged by Ditto's mimicry and strained by the 60% hidden haze, sets the stage for something forged in metal and worship. Next, we descend into Chapter 12, Melmetal and the Forge, where ancient humans knelt before a Pokémon that birthed steel from nothing, unraveling how such creation defies even the deepest codes, while Ditto serves as that perfect genetic conduit today, allowing rare traits to flow through bloodlines. Our ancestors discovered a far more primal way to tap into Pokémon potential, one that didn't rely on eggs or inheritance at all. They turned to Melmetal, the Hexnut Pokémon, whose very presence could forge empires from thin air. Picture the flickering glow of primitive forges in the shadowed valleys of ancient Sinnoh, where the air hung heavy with the scent of molten earth and smouldering charcoal. Tribes gathered under starlit skies, their chants echoing off jagged cliffs as Melmetal emerged from the depth. This colossal being, its body a seamless fusion of riveted steel and pulsating liquid metal, wasn't just a creature, it was a living anvil, a deity of creation. Ancient texts carved into basalt slabs describe how Melmetal could assimilate raw iron ore, not through smelting or alchemy, but by willing matter into existence from nothingness itself. Witnesses spoke of it slamming its massive fists into barren ground, and in an instant, veins of pure alloy would erupt, twisting into tools, weapons and monuments that defied the laws of nature. This miracle of ex nihilo creation captivated early humans, who saw in Melmetal not mere power, but divine intervention. They built the first great temples around its lairs, vast complexes of interlocking hexagons, mirroring the Pokémon's rugged, bolt-like form. Priests adorned in hammered plates led rituals where offerings of scrap metal were fed into Melmetal's gaping maw, only for it to regurgitate perfected ingots, gleaming and unbreakable. These weren't transactions, they were sacraments, binding humanity to a god who hammered reality into shape. And at the heart of this worship lay Melmetal's signature gift, Iron Fist. That unyielding strike, amplified through its fluid metallic limbs, became more than a combat trait. It evolved into the ultimate emblem of celestial safeguarding. In the turbulent dawn of civilization, when rival clans clashed over scarce resources, warriors etched Melmetal's fist onto their shields and amulets. Legends tell of battles where a single blow from the Hexnut Pokémon shattered armies, its punch rippling through stone like thunder through clouds, leaving foes pulverized into dust. Soon human smiths mimicked this with ritual hammers, scribing Iron Fist motifs, clenched steel digits radiating protective auras onto city walls and royal thrones. To bear its symbol meant you walked under Melmetal's gaze, shielded from famine, flood and foe. Archaeological digs in the Coronet Highlands have unearthed hordes of these artifacts. Bronze gauntlets fused with meteorite fragments, their grips worn smooth from centuries of desperate prayers. One such relic, discovered in a forgotten barrow, still hums faintly when struck, as if echoing the god's distant forge. But the true genius of these ancients went beyond reverence. They mastered lost technologies to channel Melmetal's abilities into monumental works. Imagine colossal aqueducts snaking across arid plains, their joints sealed not by mortar, but by Melmetal-forged alloys that expanded and contracted without flaw. scribes from a bygone era detailed ability resonators. Crude devices of crystal and conductive ore attuned to amplify Iron Fist's generative force. Workers would summon Melmetal to strike resonant slabs, each impact triggering chain reactions. Metal bloomed from the earth, beams self-welded mid-air, forming spires that pierced the heavens. These weren't haphazard builds. Precise incantations synchronized human will with Pokémon essence, harnessing the raw physics of matter creation for infrastructure that endured millennia. Evidence lingers in the ruins of what historians call the Forge Cities, clusters of cyclopean structures dotting the Alolan underbelly and Sinnoh's fringes. Towering obelisks, their surfaces etched with hexnut reliefs, stand defiant against erosion, their metal purer than anything modern smelters can produce. Expeditions have recovered fragments of those resonators. Obsidian cores laced with traces of Melmetal's unique alloy, which analysis shows defies atomic bonding norms. How did they attune them? Whispers in ancient codices suggest symbiotic bonds, where shamans entered trance states, merging their life force with the Pokémon's, directing Iron Fist's fury like a conductor wields an orchestra. Disasters befell those who overreached. Tales of forges exploding in geysers of liquid steel, swallowing entire villages, but the successes reshaped the world. This era marked the zenith of human Pokémon synergy, predating even the Draconid prayers by eons, when abilities weren't hidden genes or inheritable slots, but overt forces ripe for exploitation. Melmetal's worship spread like wildfire across proto-continents, its Iron Fist carved into the bedrock of culture. Kings claimed descent from its sparks, their crowns forged in its shadow, promising protection to the faithful. Yet as clans grew into nations, the knowledge faded. Resonators cracked under unchecked ambition. Melmetal retreated to abyssal veins, and the Forge Cities crumbled into myth. What remains challenges us today. If ancients wielded abilities so directly for creation, why do traces of that tech elude recovery? The alloys resist modern melting. The symbols pulse with unexplained energy, hints that Melmetal's power lingers, waiting. And as we ponder these echoes, a chilling void emerges in the timeline, one where such powers simply vanished. Next, in Chapter 13, The Absence of Power, we'll uncover the eras when abilities went dark entirely, leaving even the mightiest Pokémon stripped bare. What cataclysm could erase divine fists from the world? Stay with me as the shadows deepen. Those ancient humans who knelt before Melmetal, forging their first tools from its miraculous Iron Fist, saw power as raw divinity, untamed and unpredictable. But rewind the clock even further, to the mist-shrouded valleys and jagged peaks of Hisui, the wild precursor to modern Sinnoh, and something profound shifts. Here, amid the noble Pokémon and the space-time rifts tearing open the sky, trainers and surveyors from the galaxy team catalogue every creature they encounter. Yet not a whisper of formalized abilities emerges in their records. No Pokémon levitates instinctively to dodge the earth. No flames intensify beyond a Pokémon's natural fury. No hidden auras synchronize with allies in battle. It's as if these defining traits simply didn't exist, or at least hadn't crystallized into the structured powers we know today. Picture the Hisuian landscape. Blizzards howling through the highlands, where noble Avalugg commands the ice. Earthquakes rumbling under the feet of Hisuian Typhlosion as it channels ghostly purple flames. The Galaxy team's meticulous journals, etched by lantern light in their outpost tents, describe behaviors we now attribute to abilities. Wyrdeer's warped horns, bending space for swift charges. Vasculegion's spectral leaps across white-streaked waters, but they frame them as primal instincts, raw survival adaptations honed by a brutal frontier. Why no formalized abilities in this Sinnoh of the past? The evidence points to a world still in flux, where Pokémon hadn't yet evolved those specialized traits into reliable, heritable mechanics. Arceus itself, the creator, watches from Mount Coronet without imposing such rigid powers. The noble Pokémon, empowered by life plates, rely on frenzied outbreaks driven by Celestica flute harmonies not innate abilities like drizzle or swift swim. Even the Lord's trials feel organic, chaotic, clever hurling rocks with primal strength. No terravolt to pierce through defenses, just the unrelenting force of nature unbound. This absence isn't a gameplay oversight. It's a deliberate lore window into Pokémon evolution. In Hisui, Pokémon exist in their primal states, closer to the primordial seas, where Anorith's legs first stretched into wings, or the million-year-old craters, where titanic forces reshaped the land. Their powers manifest as fluid responses to environment. Issuing Growlithe's fire burst brighter in volcanic ash. Sneasla's toxins seep faster in humid groves. But without the consistency of abilities. No Pokémon shrugs off status conditions via Limber. No herds cluster under Drizzle's perpetual rain. The space-time rifts, vomiting forth warped beasts from other eras, reinforce this. Alpha forms dominate through sheer size and ferocity, not specialized traits. Surveyors like Ray and Akari note these anomalies, but they attribute them to heavenly blessings or curses, not codified abilities. It's a realm where power flows wild, unchanneled, echoing the ancient Draconid prayers that once summoned Rayquaza's megaform through spiritual energy alone. From this silence arises the primal state theory, compelling lens for our timeline. Were abilities a result of recent environmental adaptation? Consider the cataclysms clustering in the last few thousand years. The Darkest Days Galar particles 3,000 years back, birthing Dynamax spots. The Meteor's fallout enabling Gigantamax. Even the 200-year-old Herba Mystica discoveries forging titans. These events flooded regions with exotic energies, pressuring Pokémon to adapt specialized defenses and offenses. In Hisui's untouched wilds, lacking such catalysts, abilities remained dormant, latent potentials waiting for the right ecological shove. Fast forward to modern Sinnoh, and abilities bloom. Abomasnow's snow warning cloaks the peaks in eternal blizzards, mirroring Hisui's brutal winters but now weaponized. Lucario's inner focus sharpens in the post-Hisuian era, perhaps awakened by the same temporal distortions that scarred the land. The theory posits abilities as evolutionary accelerators, not eternal fixtures, recent mutations fine-tuned by human expansion, continental shifts, and those leaked particles from extraterrestrial origins. Pokémon in their primal state fought with base ferocity. Only later did they unlock these traits, much like hidden abilities stirring from Dream Mist in Generation 5. This idea sharpens when we pivot to another timeline branch, the Kanto of the Let's Go era, a world where abilities never evolved at all. Step into that sun-dappled Viridian forest, or the misty routes towards Cerulean, and the air hums differently. No thick fat insulating against fire types blasts, no runaway for hasty Rattata retreats. Pikachu zaps with raw voltage. Eevee shifts forms through stones alone, without adaptability amplifying their evolutions. Mewtwo, born from genetic tampering in the first cinematic labs, unleashes psychic storms unbound by synchronize or pressure. It's pure, unfiltered dominance. This Kanto feels like a parallel Hisui, primal, ability-free, where red and blue's rivalry hinges on tight matchups and raw stats, not the layered strategies of later generations. Even legendaries like Articuno glide without clear body, their icy gales a natural extension of Arctic heritage. Analyzing this timeline reveals a Pokémon world frozen in pre-ability stasis. No environmental upheavals like Paldea's crater energies or Galar's particles to trigger adaptation. Pokémon here embody the Generation 1 ethos. Simple visceral battles under Professor Oak's watchful eye, suggesting abilities aren't primordial but emergent, perhaps tied to the global spread of Pokéballs standardizing training, or the rise of gym systems forcing selective pressures. These ability-void worlds, Hisui's untamed frontier, Let's Go Kanto's nostalgic purity, challenge our assumptions, hinting at a flexible canon where powers wax and wane across eras. Melmetal's ancient forges now seem like outliers, exceptional miracles amid a baseline of raw instinct. If abilities crystallized recently, what triggered their global surge? Did human interference, from breeding dens to ability patches, accelerate what nature started. The primal Pokémon of Hisui and early Kanto remind us. Power once flowed free, without names or slots, until the world demanded more. As these threads of adaptation tighten, we'll uncover how elemental forces turn the tide next in Chapter 14. Weather wars and climate control, where drizzle duels and drought dominations reshaped entire regions in battles you won't believe survived the records. If abilities truly emerged as adaptations to a chaotic primal world, like the untamed wilds of ancient Hisui, then nowhere do their power take hold more dramatically than in the skies and sands themselves. Pokémon like Kyogre and Groudon didn't just clash in myth. Their lingering echoes through lesser kin reshaped the very maps of regions long before borders were drawn by human hands. Consider the relentless duel between drizzle and drought. Those primordial weather abilities that turned fertile valleys into impassable barriers. Drizzle, summoned by the likes of Pelipper Phlox, or the deep-sea pulse of Kyogre's lineage, unleashed sheets of rain that swelled rivers into roaring chasms overnight. In Hoenn's shadowed history, entire coastal clans found their villages swallowed by sudden monsoons, forcing migrations inland where the downpours carved jagged escarpments. Natural walls that later defined the watery fringes of what we now call the Sevii Islands' outskirts. These weren't mere storms. They were weapons in a silent war, drenching lands until the soil turned to mudslides, halting armies and trade routes alike. Generations later, surveyors tracing those flooded scars would etch them as official boundaries, oblivious to the Pokémon abilities that first decreed them inviolable. On the flip side, drought scorched the earth with merciless precision. Ninetales of the sun-baked varieties, or Torkoal's smouldering vents, ignited atmospheres that evaporated lakes and withered crops in days. Picture the arid badlands of Unova's western reaches. Once lush plains baked into cracked deserts under endless blue skies, where nomadic tribes splintered as oases vanished. The heat mirages danced over bleached bones, and what survived huddled in shadowed canyons that became the stark lines separating Aura's dust bowls from Johto's greener hills. These drought-sculpted voids weren't accidents. They were tactical retreats enforced by abilities, pushing human settlements into defensible pockets and birthing rivalries that hardened into the geopolitical rifts we study today. The historical impact of drizzle and drought on the formation of regional borders reveals a world where weather wasn't random. It was commanded. A Pokémon-driven chess game that redrew the continents stroke by fiery stroke or deluge by deluge. Yet no force etched deeper scars than the sand stream of Tyranitar, that armoured behemoth whose roars summoned tempests of grit capable of burying empires. Deep in the Sinnoh Badlands, or perhaps echoing the meteor-worn craters of Paldea from 1,000,000 years past, Tyranitar herds migrated like living sandstorms, their abilities whipping dunes into colossal waves that reshaped coastlines overnight. Ancient civilizations rose in their wake, drawn to the fertile belts trailing these streams. Oases blooming amid the abrasion where hardy grains took root and stone masons carved ziggurats from the petrified sands. The Draconids of Hoenn whispered of such guardians, their prayers perhaps amplifying these streams to fend off sea invasions, building thriving metropolises around the eye of the storm. But prosperity in the sandstream's shadow was fleeting. When Tyranitar clashes echoed across the wastes, rival alphas battling for territory, the streams veered wildly, entombing cities under meters of silica. The fabled empire of the relic castle in Unova, legends tie its downfall to a sandstream cataclysm, where golden spires vanish beneath encroaching dunes, leaving only wind-hollowed ruins for explorers like Heath to puzzle over 200 years ago. How ancient civilizations rose and fell based on the sandstream of Tyranitar paints a cycle of hubris. Humans worship the beasts as desert gods, only to be erased when the stream shifted, their abilities indifferent to the altars raised in vain. These weren't localized squalls. They were geological resets, grinding mountains to powder and forging new trade winds that carried seeds of collapse across regions. This weather supremacy extended far beyond borders, rippling into the ecological consequences of Pokémon abilities, dictating the global thermostat. Imagine the planet's climate as a vast, fragile dial, tuned by the collective aura of thousands of species. Drizzle cools the troposphere, seeding clouds that reflect solar fury back to space, while drought amplifies infrared traps, turning hemispheres into ovens. Tyranitar's abrasions loft particulates that dim the sun for years, mimicking volcanic winters. Balance teeters on their whims. A Kyogre awakening in the primordial seas could plunge equatorial belts into ice ages, freezing migration paths and starving megafauna like the ancestors of Donphan. Conversely, unchecked droughts from Ninetales' pack evaporated the ancient inland seas of Kalos, birthing the arid couriers that carried Galar particles millennia later, priming the land for Eternatus' darkest day 3,000 years ago. These abilities wove into every layer of existence. Polytoad choruses in the treetops regulated monsoon rhythms, ensuring mangroves thrived along Hoenn's fringes, even as Groudon slumbered below. Hippowdon colonies, cousins to Tyranitar's fury, tunneled aquifers that quenched drought-stricken herds, preventing mass extinctions, yet overreach bred backlash. The global thermostat swung wildly during the ozone layer descents of Rayquaza, when clashing weathers forced mega-evolutions fueled by Draconid chants. Forests petrified into amber graveyards, bug lineages like Anorith's eight-legged progeny adapting wings to flee the chaos. Even human transformations whispered in Kadabra lore might stem from this frenzy. Psychic youths warped by climatic storms, their synchronize emerging as a desperate sync with the raging skies. In this maelstrom, abilities weren't just survival tools. They were the architects of habitability, deciding which biomes endured. Paldea's Great Crater, formed 1 million years back, likely cradled Herba Mystica amid thermostat upheavals, birthing Titan Pokémon that amplified local weathers into regional dominions. Galar's power spots, echoes of drought-drizzled duels scattering Eternatus' particles, creating hotspots where Dynamax defied the global chill. The dream world leaks of Generation 5 merely unveiled what ancient Mashana mists had long hinted. Hidden weather genes dormant until climates demanded them, but amid these elemental colossi, subtler forces lurked. Abilities that didn't summon storms, but quelled them through sheer presence. Chapter 15, The Intimidate Factor, uncovers how a single glare from certain Pokémon could shatter armies and rewrite histories, turning weather wars into battles of unbreakable will. What happens when raw fear overrides even the mightiest gale? While Tyranitar's endless sand streams eroded the borders of ancient kingdoms, forcing migrations and toppling fragile societies, a quieter revolution stirred in the underbrush of Johto and Hoenn. Predators there learned that raw power alone couldn't claim territory. True dominance came from breaking an enemy's spirit before the first strike landed. In the wilds, this marked the dawn of psychological warfare among Pokémon. Picture the dense thickets of Johto's Ilex forest, where early herds of Stantler grazed uneasily under the canopy. Before fangs or hooves clashed, challengers would circle, postures swelling with unspoken threats. A low growl, a flare of fur, and suddenly the prey's muscles locked, their charge faltering into retreat. This wasn't mere posturing. It was the primal seed of Intimidate, an ability that weaponized fear itself, turning battles into routs without bloodshed. Over generations, as Pokémon evolved alongside human explorers, charting Johto's roots and Hoenn's roots, Intimidate refined this tactic into something lethal. Growlithe packs roamed the grassy plains near Goldenrod City, their fiery manes bristling as they faced off against rival Ursaring. One step forward from the Alpha, and the bear's massive paws trembled, its swipe reduced to half its fury. In Hoenn's humid roots skirting Laveridge, Ukiana swarms overwhelmed larger foes like Camerupt, their collective glare sapping the volcano Pokémon's molten rage before it could erupt. These weren't accidents of nature. They were the wild's answer to endless skirmishes. an evolutionary leap where the mind became the sharpest claw. This shift rippled through the entire food chain in Johto and Hoenn, upending ecosystems that had balanced for millennia. Herbivores like Miltank and Tauros, once apex grazers in Johto's farms and wilds, found their stampedes broken by Arcanine's mere arrival, herds scattering to thinner pastures. Predatory birds like Pharaoh plummeted in numbers, their dives aborted mid-air by the intimidating snarl of a mighty hyena from Hoenn's dark caves. Even apex hunters adapted. Salamence, in Hoenn's skies, learned to strike from afar, avoiding the ground where Houndoom lurked, its hellish eyes dimming the dragon's ferocity on contact. Prey populations boomed in safer fringes, while intimidate bearers claimed the heartlands, redrawing migration paths and forcing smaller species into uneasy alliances. Johto's rivers ran thicker, with fleeing schools of Magikarp, Hoenn's shores littered with washed-up Skarmory, too shaken to hunt. The region's wilds transformed from arenas of physical might to theatres of terror, where survival hinged on who could instill dread first. What sparked this ability's activation remained a mystery whispered among old trainers until patterns emerged. Physical markers served as the trigger, etched into the biology of these Pokémon like ancient runes. Bold stripes on a Growlithe's back would pulse with inner fire upon sensing a threat, the black and orange bands widening like warning flags to any encroaching shadow. Eyes played the cruelest role. Houndoom's glowed with an infernal crimson, pupils dilating to release a hypnotic stare that pierced fog or foliage, locking gazes and flooding the target's nerves with phantom pain. Pheromones sealed the effect. Invisible clouds exhaled in heavy breaths, acrid musky scents from mighty hyena's glands that mimicked the rot of decay, triggering instinctive flight responses buried deep in every Pokémon's lineage. A swallow diving for a kill would catch the whiff mid-plunge, wings faltering as visions of predators long dead haunted its mind. These cues didn't just signal danger, they reprogrammed the battlefield, lowering resolve across the field. The moment an intimidate user emerged from the brush. Trainers in Johto's gyms first documented these markers during the league circuits of the late 1990s, when Professor Elm's assistants tracked pack dynamics. A single pheromone trace lingered for hours, deterring revisits and carving no-go zones around dens. In Hoenn, Roxanne's school logs from Dewford noted how nosepass herds avoided routes patrolled by Aran lines, mistaking the metallic glint in their eyes for a false intimidate flare. Over time, as abilities formalized in the Ruby and Sapphire era, these traits intertwined with human battles, but their roots lay in the wild's brutal calculus. Fear as currency, presence as the ultimate weapon. You can almost feel the hush falling over a Johto meadow at dusk, the air thick with that telltale musk, every rustle amplifying the tension. Heracross pauses mid-sip from sap, antennae twitching at the pheromone drift. A Masquerain hovers frozen, compound eyes reflecting the glow of approaching fangs. Intimidate didn't just weaken attacks, it rewrote the rules of engagement, ensuring victors feasted while foes slunk away, forever scarred by the encounter. This psychological edge persisted through Hoenn's turbulent weather shifts, where even drizzle rains couldn't wash away the dread. Explorers charting meteor falls spoke of Salamence wheeling high, only to veer from a Gyarados whose slit pupils promised agony below the waves. The abilities spread favoured pack hunters, turning solitary titans into relics, and in doing so, it echoed older powers, like the ancient stares of legendaries that quelled wars without motion. As these fear tactics dominated the food webs, subtler manipulations began to emerge in the shadows, blending intimidation with insidious effects that lingered long after the battle ended. Up next in Chapter 16, The Alchemy of Cystitus, we'll uncover how paralysis and poison turned fleeting scares into eternal shackles, reshaping alliances in ways no glare could match, while Intimidate reshaped the wild hierarchies of Johto and Hoenn through sheer presence alone. The true battlefields of survival lay deeper in the toxic undercurrents of swamps and shadowed thickets where poison didn't weaken, It forged unbreakable resolve. Pokémon like those bearing the Guts ability didn't crumble under Venom's bite or Flame's sear. They rose fiercer, their attack power surging 20% higher, as if the affliction itself fueled an inner inferno. Picture a Heracross, its horn gleaming with rage, shrugging off a rival's poison jab, not with retreat, but with a double-down mega-horn that cleaves through bark and bone alike. This wasn't mere endurance, it was alchemy, transmuting paralysis, burns, and toxins from chains into weapons. Deep in the primordial seas millions of years ago, where Anorith's ancestors scuttled across sediment-choked floors, toxins first emerged as nature's cruel equalizer. Predatory schools unleashed barrages of venom-laced strikes, crippling foes before the kill. Yet evolution whispered back, birthing countermeasures that turned the tide. Guts bearers, taunt-wielding Machoke in misty highlands or fiery Growlithe packs prowling volcanic fringes, evolved this trait as a primal riposte. A burn that should sap strength instead, ignites raw power, paralysis locking limbs only to unleash hyper-focused strikes upon release. In the wilds of ancient Hoenn, where Rayquaza's ozone descent marked epochs of chaos, these Pokémon thrived amid Groudon and Kyogre's elemental fury, their bodies adapting to poison seeping from fractured earth. Marvel Scale took this defiance further, armoring dragon lineages against the unseen assailants of status. Dragonair coiled in mist-shrouded lakes, its serpentine form shimmering as affliction struck. Poison, burn, whatever the curse, their defense swelled by 50%, scales hardening like enchanted steel. Altaria, drifting through Hoenn's cloud-veiled peaks, embodied this grace under duress. A foe's will-o'-wisp might singe its woolen wings, but those plumes would thicken, repelling slashes that once pierced deep. This ability traces to the Draconid clan's reverent skies, where dragons endured millennia of toxic winds from clashing titans. Their hides evolving not to evade harm, but to weaponize it, turning vulnerability into an impenetrable fortress. Then came Poison Heal, the ultimate subversion, whispered through the lineages of venom dwellers like Venonat and its luminous evolutions. Afflicted by poison, they don't wither, they mend. Every turn under the toxin's grip restores health, a slow drip of vitality drawn from the affliction itself, as if their veins had learned to sip nectar from nettles. In the shadowed mires of Unova, or the cratered depths of Paldea, where Herba Mystica first birthed titans 200 years past, these Pokémon patrol as living antitheses to decay. As Toxicroak's poison gas might fell lesser prey, but a Poison Heal Nidoran absorbs it, emerging stronger, its body recycling the venom into regenerative fire. Here lies the profound shift. Pokémon alchemized what once debilitated into wellsprings of physical strength. Toxins, burns, paralytics, tools of predators for eons, became catalysts for the afflicted. Guts channels agony into assault, Marvel Scale into bulwark, Poison Heal into renewal. No longer passive victims, these species redrew the wild's brutal calculus, their bodies rewriting poison's script from destroyer to divine elixir. This sparked an evolutionary arms race, relentless and unforgiving, between status-inflicting moves and the abilities that rose to claim them. In Galar's fog-bound moors, scarred by the darkest day 3,000 years ago, when Eternatus's Galar particles poisoned the skies, predators honed toxic and toxic spikes, layering venomous traps across territories. Prey countered with Guts lineages, charging through the haze undeterred, their boosted fury shattering ambushes. Dragonair nests in Paldea's ancient crater, evolved Marvel Scale as meteoric fallout-laced waters with exotic plagues, scales gleaming defiant. Meanwhile, Poison Heal clans infiltrated toxic barrens, thriving where others perished, forcing attackers to innovate fiercer strains, Venoshock doubling damage on the poisoned or risk obsolescence. Swamps pulsed with this dance, a Seviper coils, fangs dripping sludge bomb, only for a Guts-boosted Slaking to erupt from undergrowth, its belly aflame from a self-inflicted burn, yet hammers falling twice as hard. High plateaus echoed with Altaria's defiant trill as Thunder Wave locked its wings, only for hardened scales to blunt the follow-up dive. In Paldea's zero-depth anomalies, where time fractures birth paradoxes, poison heal, Vespiquen hives turned invading Gliscor's poison tail against them, queens mending mid-battle while drones swarmed renewed. Each escalation birthed refinement. Status moves like parting shot weaving debuffs with flight, met by abilities that healed through the haze or powered up in spite. Ancient texts from Heath's expedition hint at this war's roots. Scrolls depicting primordial beasts locked in venomous stalemates, foreshadowing Gen 3's codification when abilities first surfaced in Ruby and Sapphire's wilds. Before then, in Hisui's primal expanse or Let's Go's simplified skirmishes, these powers slumbered as innate mysticism, untamed by mechanics. Melmetal's forges might birth iron from ether, but here Pokémon forged themselves from strife's refuse. As this status alchemy peaked, unlocking strengths from suffering's core, it primed the world for transformations beyond reckoning, powers that shattered limits entirely. Coming up in Chapter 17, the Mega Evolution Catalyst will uncover how these survival sparks ignited megaforms, bonding trainer and Pokémon in symbiotic fury that rewrote destinies forever. From turning poison into raw power through abilities like Guts and Poison Heal, Pokémon survival reached a new threshold when humans entered the equation. Those ancient mechanisms were solitary triumphs, forged in the wild's unforgiving crucible. But what happens when a trainer's unyielding trust fuses with a Pokémon's primal essence? That's the spark of Mega Evolution. A catalyst that doesn't just amplify strength, it births entirely new abilities, reserved solely for that fleeting moment of transcendence. Deep in Hoenn's lore, where Rayquaza once descended from the ozone layer millions of years ago to quell the primal clash of Groudon and Kyogre, we find the first whispers of this power. The Draconid people channeled spiritual energy through prayers, enabling the Sky Dragon's megaform. No stones, no keys, just pure harmony between Guardian and World. Fast forward to more recent eras, and Mega Evolution emerges as the ultimate expression of the trainer-Pokémon bond. It's not a random mutation or environmental gift like the Galar particles that birthed Dynamax. This is deliberate, intimate. The Megastone resonates only when trust peaks, when the trainers will align perfectly with their partner's fighting spirit. Picture the battlefield under a stormy Kalos sky, where Sycamore's researchers first documented these evolutions around the time abilities solidified in Generation 3's Ruby and Sapphire. A Lucario, usually wielding Inner Focus or Steadfast, clutches a Lucarionite, but in Megaform it awakens Meglio, an aura-sensing prowess that no standard Lucario can touch. How the bond between trainer and Pokémon unlocks these Mega-only abilities becomes clear here. Its emotional resonance, years of battles, shared scars, whispered encouragements. They overload the Pokémon's genetic limits, tapping into potentials hidden since the primordial seas, where Anorith's legs dreamed of wings. This bond isn't abstract. It's measurable in the pulse of energy that surges through the keystone. Trainers like Corina in Shalor City spoke of it as a heart-to-heart link, echoing the ancient human youths who tamed Zacian and Zamazenta during Gala's darkest day 3,000 years ago. Without that connection, the stone remains inert. With it, Pokémon like Altaria shed their natural cure for Pixelate, turning every normal type move into a fairy-tinged dragon's breath, shredding foes with ethereal precision. These abilities vanish post-transformation, like echoes of a deeper truth. Power born from unity, not isolation. No Mega Evolution embodies this emotional pinnacle, quite like Kangaskhan's. In her base form, parental bond lets her child Pokémon strike twice, a fierce maternal echo of wild herds protecting their young. But Mega Kangaskhan, that's evolution's tear-streaked triumph. The transformation of Mega Kangaskhan's parental bond as a peak of emotional evolution hits you in the gut. The baby leaps from the pouch, fully grown and raging, both mother and child unleashing double assaults in perfect sync. Lore ties this to ancient herds in the savannas, predating even Melmetal's worship. where lone mothers forged unbreakable family pacts against predators wielding early intimidate-like stares. Witness it, the Mega Kangaskhan roars, pouch ripping open as her offspring emerges, eyes blazing with shared fury. Parental bond evolves, not just mechanically doubling damage again for quadruple havoc, but narratively. It's the trainer who catalyzed this, their bond awakening the child's latent ferocity. Entries hint at Kangaskhan mothers, who've wandered Paldea's craters for Herba Mystica, 200 years after Heath's expedition, seeking strength to protect their kin. Megaform realizes the instinct, turning parental love into a whirlwind of punches that crumple steel types. Yet this peak demands everything. The reunion strains the body, hinting at costs we'll uncover next, because transcendence isn't free. High-tier abilities like Pure Power, which doubles a Pokemon's attack to godlike levels, exact a brutal toll during Mega States. Medicam, already a yogic ascetic channeling Psychic Fury, Mega evolves with its Mega Stone pulsing like a strained heartbeat. Pure Power surges. It strikes hit with the force of a meteor from Galar's ancient impact, but the body buckles under the load. Muscles tear at microscopic levels. Energy reserves drain in seconds, leaving the Pokemon heaving post-battle, aura flickering like a dying ember. Lore from Hisui's absence of abilities suggests why, in primal states, such power was unsustainable without human bonds to share the burden. Mega Medicam staggers after unleashing Pure Power barrages, its pure white form cracking with overexertion, psychic veins bulging against fragile bones. Trainers whisper of faintings that last days, recoveries aided by rare berries echoing the Herba Mystica's titan-forging might. Similarly, Mega Mawile's huge power mirrors this, jaws unhinging to reveal pits of endless appetite, but the steel frame warps, ligaments screaming under doubled might. These Mega-only evolutions demand sacrifice. Faster heartbeats, overheated cores, a toll that explains why Rayquaza needed Draconid prayers to endure its ozone vigil. Even Kangaskhan feels it. Post-Mega, mother and child collapse together, bond reaffirmed but bodies etched with fatigue lines. This physical toll that high-tier abilities like Pure Power take on the Pokemon's body underscores Mega Evolution's rarity. It's why hidden abilities emerged later in Generation 5's Dream World, or why ability patches now let us tweak fates. Echoes of trying to ease nature's cruel balance. In Yoto's wilds, where Intimidate once ruled unchallenged, Mega forms briefly shattered hierarchies, only for exhaustion to restore them. Yet that toll fuels the legend. Explorers like Heath, delving Area Zero, glimpse Titan Pokemon empowered by similar overclocks, their bodies mutating permanently. Mega Evolution teases that edge, temporary gods paying in flesh, as bonds deepen across regions, from Kalos arenas to Paldea's craters. These catalysts hint at even wilder potentials waiting beneath the surface. And speaking of untapped shifts, Chapter 18 dives into Terrestrial energy and adaptability, where crystals rewrite type affinities mid-battle, turning underdogs into apex predators overnight. How does this glittering force from Paldea's depths eclipse even Mega's bond-born blaze? Stick around after you wake, and we'll unearth those crystalline secrets. While Mega Evolution harnessed the unbreakable bond between trainer and Pokemon, manifesting as unique powers like the dual strikes of Mega Kangaskhan's parental bond, Paldea's Terrestrial phenomenon pushes adaptability into uncharted territory, allowing a Pokemon to shatter its own limitations in the heat of battle. Deep within the great crater of Paldea, formed about 1 million years ago by forces still shrouded in mystery, lies the origin of this transformative force. Terrestrial energy pulses from crystalline veins embedded in the Earth's core, a radiant power that ancient explorers like Heath stumbled upon just 200 years back during their daring plunge into Area Zero. What they found wasn't mere minerals, but a phenomenon capable of altering a Pokemon's fundamental essence, turning rigid typings into fluid weapons of war. Picture a Meowscarada, normally bound to grass and dark, suddenly erupting in a blaze of fiery crystal as it terrestrializes into a fire terror type. Its body sheathes in shimmering facets, refracting light like a living prism, and in that instant, every fibre of its being aligns to a new reality. This isn't superficial flair, it's a profound shift. The Paldean phenomenon of changing a Pokémon's fundamental essence rewrites the rules of combat on a molecular level. Pokémon that consume Herba Mystica, those rare herbs unearthed in the crater's depths, become the first Titan Pokémon, their bodies swollen with Terrestrial potential. But any Pokémon can tap this power through a Terra Orb, invoking a temporary rewriting of genetic code during the Terrestrial process. Imagine the double helix of a Pokémon's DNA twisting under invisible pressure, segments flipping like switches in a vast machine. Type resistances dissolve, vulnerabilities vanish, and stab moves, those same type attack bonuses, surge with 1.5 times their usual force. A water-type Clodsire, frail against electric foes, terrestrializes into steel, its muddy form hardening into an impervious alloy that laughs off thunderbolts. Yet the true genius lies in how Terrestrial synergizes with innate abilities, forging what trainers whisper as the perfect attacker. Take Iron Valiant, a paradox Pokémon born from the crater's deepest anomalies. Its Quark Drive ability normally boosts the highest stat in electric terrain, but terrestrialize it to fighting, and Terra Blast becomes a devastating physical nuke, channeling that speed into punches that crater the arena floor. How the Terra Blast interacts with innate abilities to create the perfect attacker is poetry in motion. The move, once a neutral blast of raw energy, morphs into the Terra type, inheriting perfect stab, while the ability amplifies the chaos. A Dragonite with multiscale, already a tank with half damage when at full health, terrestrializes to Fairy and unleashes Terra Blasts that ignore its own typing weaknesses, turning a bulky flyer into an untouchable assassin. Feel the air thicken with crystalline static as this happens. The Terrestrial process doesn't just change type, it cascades through the Pokémon's entire arsenal. Abilities like Photosynthesis or Orichalcum Pulse, which thrive on sunlight, explode under a Fire Terra type, stacking speed or attack boosts until the opponent is a blur of overwhelmed senses. In Paldea's wilds, where the crater's energy seeps into the soil, feral Pokémon instinctively terrestrialize during territorial clashes, their forms glowing under the stars as genetic code rewinds and replays in seconds. This temporary rewriting isn't permanent evolution, it's a fleeting godhood, fading after the battle, leaving the Pokémon humming with residual power, scales or fur faintly iridescent for days. Trainers in Paldea have built empires on this adaptability. Consider the elite battles in the region's vast open fields, where a Skeledirge shifts to Ghost Terra type mid-song, its Torch Song ability fueling Terra blasts that haunt the soundscape, piercing steel defenses it once feared. Or a Baxcalibur, Icy Breath weaponized further by thermal exchange, terrestrializing to Dragon for glacial lances that freeze the very atmosphere. The perfect attacker emerges not from brute force, but from this dance. Ability feeding Terra Blast, Terra type elevating the ability, a feedback loop where genetic essence bends to will. Ancient Paldean texts, etched into cavern walls near Area Zero, hint that this energy predates human touch, perhaps birthed when the crater formed, a cosmic scar leaking otherworldly adaptability into the world. But whispers from the crater's edge suggest deeper secrets. Pokémon like Terrapagos, the crystalline heart of it all, embody Terrestrial in its purest form, shifting types across normal, stellar, and beyond. Its Terra Shell ability a fortress that rewrites reality itself. When it emerges, the air tastes of ozone and quartz, ground trembling as genetic codes across nearby Pokémon flicker in sympathy. This phenomenon didn't arise in isolation. It echoes the primordial adaptations of old, like Anorith's legs to wings shift eons ago, but accelerated, weaponized. In tournaments, we've seen it birth legends. A single Terra shift turning underdogs into champions. Abilities like huge power doubling might behind a normal Terra Blast that shatters psychic walls. As Paldea's terrestrial energy continues to ripple outward, influencing even remote regions through traded Terra Orbs, It raises tantalizing questions about Pokémon potential. Could this be the next step beyond Mega Bonds? A raw environmental force democratizing godlike power. The battles grow fiercer, attackers perfected in crystal light, their essences forever marked by that temporary rewrite. And yet not all powers spring from nature's wild heart. Up next in Chapter 19, the artificial ability will uncover the hidden labs and forbidden experiments where humans engineered abilities from scratch, twisting the code in ways even Terrestrial can't touch. Powers that blur the line between Pokémon and machine, with consequences that could reshape the world forever. While Paldean trainers twist Terrestrial energy to reshape a Pokémon's core essence, forging the perfect attacker from innate abilities already etched into their being. Humanity has dared something far more audacious, crafting abilities from nothing, born not of nature's whim but cold calculation and forbidden science. In the shadowed labs of Silphco and the storm-swept towers of the Kanto region, visionaries chased the dream of engineering supremacy, programming digital ghosts and cloning legends to wield powers no wild Pokémon could dream of touching. Consider Porygon, the first true child of human ingenuity, materialized in the 1990s from lines of code, pulsing through Silph's servers. This wasn't some captured beast tamed by a Pokeball. It was pixels given form, a virtual entity uploaded into reality, its body a shimmering lattice of data that defies the flesh and blood rules of evolution. Programmers poured their ambition into its core directive, adaptability without limits, a mirror to any foe it faced. And there, embedded in its binary heart, lies Trace, the ability to scan an opponent's hidden strength and claim it as its own. Copying levitate to drift above the earth, or intimidate to shatter wills before a battle even ignites. You can almost hear the whir of cooling fans in those early prototypes, as Porygon flickered into existence, its eyes glowing with stolen code, reflecting back whatever power dared challenge it. But Porygon was just the prototype, a proof of concept flickering on cathode ray screens. Its successor, Porygon 2, emerged from an upgrade frenzy in Johto's labs, refined through endless debugging sessions under fluorescent lights that buzzed like distant thunder. This evolution wasn't driven by stones or trades, but by human hands rewriting its source code, injecting download as the crown jewel of artificial design. Download assesses the battlefield in an instant, probing an enemy's defenses and offenses, then bolstering Porygon 2's own stats where it hurts most. 20% boost to attack or special attack, or slashing special defense if the foe bulges with raw power. It's biological engineering at its zenith, a self-optimizing algorithm mimicking evolution's trial and error, but accelerated to machine precision, turning every encounter into a data-driven domination. Porygon and Mewtwo embody that relentless quest to program or clone the perfect ability, two paths converging on the same hubristic peak. While Porygon's creators typed commands into keyboards slick with late-night sweat, Mewtwo's origin unfolded in the Cinnabar labs of Giovanni's ambition, where Team Rocket's scientists sliced Mew's DNA under sterile lights, splicing psychic essence into a gestation tank that bubbled like a witch's cauldron. Born from amber-coloured fluid and rage-fueled screams, Mewtwo wasn't merely cloned, it was rebuilt, its mind a fortress of telekinetic fury, abilities like pressure bearing down on foes to drain their will, forcing every move to cost double the effort. In those cloned cells, humanity glimpsed godhood, rewriting life's blueprint to amplify what nature whispered, creating a being whose power warps reality, shattering mountains with a thought and probing minds across horizons. Why do Trace and Download stand as the pinnacle of this man-made biological engineering? Because they don't just enhance, they evolve in real time, hijacking the opponent's essence without the mess of breeding or stones. Trace slips into the foe's ability like a virus rewriting host code, granting immunity to ground moves, or igniting Drizzle's rain without a cloud in sight. Download, meanwhile, is predictive perfection, a neural net sifting stats mid-battle, adapting where instinct falters. No ancient ritual or megastone required. These are abilities forged in clean rooms, tested in simulations running millions of cycles, embodying humanity's triumph over the wild chaos of Pokémon biology. Picture the engineers huddled over terminals, coffee stains marking their triumph, as Porygon 2's download flipped a losing matchup, stats surging like overclocked circuits, proving man could outpace nature's slow grind. Yet not every artificial creation bent to human will. Deep in Sinnoh's snowy ruins, where continental plates still bear the scars of primordial labour, Regigigas slumbers as a cautionary monument to overreach. This colossal golem, hewn from stone by forgotten hands 3,000 years past, or perhaps, in the shadow of that million-year-old Paldean crater, tugged islands into place and sculpted the earth with fists like avalanches. Its creators, awed by the raw force they unleashed, embedded slow start as a deliberate limiter, a hard-coded restraint to prevent their titan from unraveling the world in moments. For 5 turns, its attack and speed halve, movement sluggish as tectonic drift, buying time for the planet to endure. But the limiter failed in its mercy. Regigigas rampages still echo in folklore, temples cracked where it stirred, a reminder that even gods must be leashed. And sometimes, the chains snap. These artificial abilities whisper of a timeline where human meddling reshapes the Pokémon world. From Gen 3's debut, when single ability species like Porygon hinted at programmable futures, to hidden abilities unlocked in dream worlds, and inheritance slots passed through eggs with 60% precision. Melmetal's ancient worshippers revered its metal forging as divine, yet here mortals coding equivalents, cloning psychic tempests like Kadabra's cursed boy transformation into Mewtwo's arsenal. Levitate's mythical birds find echoes in Trace's mimicry, bridging primordial seas and digital frontiers. As we trace these engineered edges, where code meets clone and limiters betray their makers, the story pulls us toward even darker entanglements. Chapter 20. Parasitic bonds, where abilities don't just copy or boost but invade, twisting hosts from within in ways that blur predator and prey forever. What happens when a power doesn't enhance, but consumes? I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. While humanity chased the dream of crafting flawless abilities through Porygon's digital code and Mewtwo's cloned fury, nature had already woven far more insidious masterpieces deep within the wilds. Parasitic bonds, those silent usurpers of body and will, predate our laboratories by millennia, lurking in the primordial damp of forest floors, where bug types first crawled from ancient seas. Consider the tangled heart of a Nyoto woodland, where the air hangs thick with spores and the ground pulses like a living vein. Here effect spore reigns as the unseen tyrant, a powder finer than mist that clings to fur, scales or skin with merciless intent. A Paras skitters through the leaves, its crimson claws brushing against a wandering foe. And in that fleeting contact, the horror unfolds. Sleep descends like a shroud, pulling the victim into paralyzed stupor, or poison seeps into veins, turning blood to fire. Worse still, dry skin amplifies the dread, drawing moisture from the air or the unwary touch, desiccating flesh in seconds as the afflicted withers, skin cracking like parched earth under a relentless sun. This isn't mere defense, it's ecosystem warfare, where a single graze reshapes the food chain, predators felled before they strike, prey spared only to serve as fertile ground for fungal spread. You can almost feel the damp rot underfoot, the way sunlight fractures through canopy veins, casting spore clouds in ethereal glow. Forests like these, echoing the bug evolutions from Anaris' ancient seas a million years past, became crucibles for such powers. Effect Spore doesn't just afflict, it colonizes, ensuring the host's kin scatter its legacy on every wind gust. Pair it with dry skin, and the dynamic twists into nightmare symbiosis. One Pokémon drains life from another, fueling its own grotesque vitality, leaves curling black around fallen bodies as nutrients recycle in endless, voracious loops. Trainers who venture too deep speak of groves, where the air itself tastes of sleep, entire clearings silenced not by battle, but by this airborne plague. At the apex of this fungal dominion sits Parasitic, the lumbering proof that true control slips from host to parasite. Long before Generation 3 catalogued abilities, the Paras mushroom burrowed into its bug shell. Primordial takeover mirroring Kadabra's cursed transformations. The insect haters the weight, its instincts dulled, movements puppeted by mycelial threads, threading through chitin and nerve. What we call Parasec's ability, effect spore unleashed in choking waves, is no gift of the host. It's the mushroom's dominion, hijacked from the bug's fading will, amplified to blanket territories in soporific haze. Pokédex whispers hint at the horror. The Parasect wanders mindlessly, harvesting logs not for itself, but to nourish the cap blooming atop its back, spores evolving into weapons that ensure no rival encroaches. In Yoto's depths, where these bonds first solidified thousands of years ago, entire colonies formed. Mushrooms puppeteering legions, turning forests into monolithic hives where the original hosts are ghosts in their own armor. This parasitic poetry extends to stranger forms, like the ethereal drift of Shedinja from cicada shells long discarded. Picture the husk left behind after Ninjask's frenzied emergence, hollowed by metamorphosis, a cicada skin swaying in twilight breeze. Wonderguard emerges not as the shell's power, but through symbiotic grace with unseen allies, perhaps lingering spirits or fungal remnants that seal its voids. This ability renders it inviolate, shrugging off all but supernatural harm. The hollow form a perfect vessel for ethereal guardianship. The shell doesn't float alone. Symbiotic spores or spectral essences weave through its cracks, granting immunity in exchange for passage, ferrying them across winds untouchable by fang or claw. In ancient Hisuian wilds, predating even the darkest day's chaos, 3,000 years back, such bonds preserve fragile wonders amid rampaging Dynamax titans. The empty cicada a fortress born on borrowed invincibility. These bonds pulse through the timeline, from primordial bug dawns to the meteor-scarred Galar wilds, where Eternatus particles might have twisted spores into deadlier strains. Abilities like these weren't born in Generation 3's code. They slumbered in ecosystems, owned by survival's cruel hand, long before Rayquaza's ozone descent or Paldea's crater mysteries. Parasec's cap doesn't just control, it evolves, hidden variants whispering of deeper integrations, where host and fungus blur into singular, unstoppable entities. As these parasitic threads tighten across shadowed realms, whispers rise of vibrations that shatter bonds entirely. Harmonies born from echoes in the void. Tune in for Chapter 21, the sound-based revolution, where the air itself becomes a weapon, reshaping battles in waves you'll feel in your dreams, while those parasitic bonds in the forest spread their influence silently through spores and skin, turning hosts into vessels for fungal dominion. A far more defiant power stirred in the shadowed depths below. Sound, raw and unrelenting, began to claim the underworld as its own domain, echoing through stone and shaping the very bones of the earth. In the primordial caves of Hoenn, long before trainers harnessed battles or regions drew borders, auditory abilities emerged not as mere traits, but as survival's sharpest edge. Picture the first faint tremors. Pokémon like Noibat, gliding through darkness and sonar wings, their supersonic cries mapping uncharted voids where light dared not follow. These were the precursors, abilities born from necessity in a world of endless night. Soundproof arrived first, a shield woven into the hides of Wobbuffet and Claydol, impervious to the sonic barrages that could shatter lesser forms. It stood as nature's quiet rebellion, muting the chaos of screams and blasts, allowing ancient guardians to endure amid the din of colliding worlds. But defense alone couldn't hold the caverns. Evolution demanded amplification. Hyper voice rippled outward, a technique laced with abilities like liquid voice, transforming water into waves of auditory fury. Then came the roarers, the lineage that turned whispers into cataclysms. The Exploud line. Whismer, the timid echo in the depths. Its cries barely a murmur against dripping stalactites. Yet feed it growth, and it swells into Loudred, mouth yawning like a cavern itself, amplifying every rumble until the walls tremble. And at the pinnacle, Exploud, a behemoth of brass horns and bellowing lungs, its screech-piercing souls, its boom-burst leveling stone. These weren't just monsters. They were architects of Hoenn's underbelly. Millennia ago, as Groudon and Kyogre clashed above, their subterranean kin reshaped the fallout below. Exploud herds, driven by territorial fury, unleashed hyper beams of sound that fractured granite veins, carving meteor falls from solid rock. Imagine the scene. A chorus of Exploud, horns flaring gold in torchlight, their punk rock ability igniting the air with explosive resonance. Each blast not only felled rivals, but sculpted vast chambers, widening fissures into the labyrinthine caves of Granite Cave and Seafloor Cavern. Hoenn's Draconid elders whispered of it in their ozone prayers, crediting these sonic titans for channeling Rayquaza's descent, their echoes guiding the dragon through primal chaos. Soundproof held the line against counter-roars, but punk rock redefined it, turning auditory might into a geological force, etching Hoenn's map with scars of thunderous creation. This revolution pulsed beyond destruction. In Alola's sun-drenched shores, where waves lap at volcanic black sand, Liquid Voice wove sound into art's silken thread. Primordial, the soprano of CCCs, emerged from Poplio's playful splashes, its voice a melody that bent reality. Liquid Voice transmutes water moves into sonic spells, Hyper Voice becoming a siren's call that mesmerizes foes and audiences alike. Alolan kahunas, those tattooed stewards of tradition, first noted its spark during festivals under Mount Lanakeela's shadow. Word spread through the islands like a conch shell's hush. Performing troops formed, blending Primordial's arias with human chants, birthing the Akala opera houses, where liquid notes danced on mist-shrouded stages. Kahuna Olivia etched records into Weller volcano basalt, performers invoking Liquid Voice to summon illusory reefs mid-song, crowds swaying in trance as sound sculpted light and foam. It elevated street dancers in Howoli City, their Torracat flames sinking to Exploud loans from Hoenn traders, punk rock fusing with liquid timber for fireworks of noise. Even contests evolved, judges weeping at the cultural zenith, a Primordial solo rippling the ocean itself, birthing temporary atolls for the finale. Liquid Voice didn't just entertain, it redefined Alola's soul, turning battle cries into symphonies that healed old rivalries between islands, fostering unity in a region born of fragmentation. Yet this auditory ascent traced deeper roots, threading through Pokémon history's hidden veins. In the primordial seas, where Anorith scuttled with proto-wings, faint vibrations signaled prey through murk. 1 million years passed, as Paldea's crater scarred the earth. Sonic pulses from buried relicanth herds stabilized collapsing tunnels, their soundproof kin anchoring the chaos. Even the darkest day, 3,000 years back in Galar, saw Eternatus's Dynamax roars muted by wandering Claydol, preserving sanity amid the giant's frenzy. Abilities like these weren't codified until Generation 3's dawn, Ruby and Sapphire unveiling them amid Hoenn's revamped wilds. But lore whispers they slumbered long before, innate powers masked as instinct. Hidden variants, unlocked in Generation 5's dream world, revealed punk rock's feral edge on rare Exploud, their gigs amplifying to earthquake force. Inheritance followed in Generation 6, mothers passing sonic legacies with 80% certainty, Ditto bridging the gaps for the voiceless. Soundproof to punk rock charts that arc, from muffled endurance to explosive reinvention. Whismer's hush bursts Exploud's thunder, Hoenn's caves bear the proof, jagged halls still humming with residual vibrations, drawing Zubat flocks to this day. Alola's arts thrive on it, Liquid Voice the heartbeat of every Lauan League anthem. As these sonic legacies fade into the ether, prepare for something otherworldly. Chapter 22 dives into Ultra Beast and Beast Boost, unraveling the extraterrestrial frenzy that boosted powers beyond earthly limits. What happens when invaders from the void claim evolution's throne? Those resonant echoes from Exploud's lineage, carving Hoenn's caverns into vast amphitheaters of stone, fade into silence when you cross the shimmering rifts into ultra-space. There, in that fractured dimension of perpetual twilight and swirling nebulae, the ultra beasts emerge, not as products of earthly evolution, but as harbingers bearing abilities forged in the void's unyielding chaos. Ultra space defies the Pokémon world's grounded realities. It's a labyrinth of wormholes and inverted gravity, where time bends and colours bleed into impossible hues. From this alien realm slither the ultra beasts. Nihilego with its venomous tendrils that puppet minds, Buzzwole flexing muscles swollen beyond natural limits, Pheromosa darting like liquid shadow. Their abilities didn't arise from primordial seas or ancient prayers to Rayquaza. No, these powers pulse from ultraspace itself, alien in origin, humming with an extraterrestrial frequency that resonates through their translucent hides. Consider how these invaders first breached Alola's shores. Portals tore open during the Ether Foundation's experiments, spilling forth creatures whose very essence warps the air around them. Kartana slices through steel, with blades that phase through matter, its sharpness an affront to terrestrial physics. Guzzlord devours everything in gulps that leave voids in the landscape, its maw a black hole tethered to ultra-space's hunger. These abilities aren't mere adaptations, they're extra-dimensional imperatives designed, or perhaps inevitably born, in a place where survival demands dominance over reality itself. Now at the heart of this invasion lies Beast Boost, the signature trait uniting all Ultra Beasts. When one fells an opponent, it surges, amplifying its strongest stat in a rush of raw invasive power. Picture Buzzwole, its arms already bulging like overripe fruits, suddenly exploding with even greater might after crushing a foe. Or Celesteela, rocketing skyward with boosted speed, its steel body gleaming as it claims supremacy. This isn't the gentle inheritance of a parent's gift or the symbiotic whisper of a forest parasite. Beast Boost functions differently than any terrestrial Pokémon trait because it's not about harmony with the world. It's conquest coded into their being. Terrestrial abilities evolve in tandem with ecosystems. Levitate keeps Latias aloft like the eternal martlet of legend, graceful defiance of ground-bound life. Soundproof shields explode from its own thunderous roars, preserving the balance in Hoenn's echoing depths. Even mega evolutions, sparked by ancient bonds and ozone prayers, elevate without devouring the order around them. But Beast Boost, it feeds on victory, stacking advantages in a predatory cascade that echoes ultraspace's merciless expanse. Each boost pulls energy from the fallen, converting defeat into exponential growth, as if the Ultra Beast is siphoning the victim's potential to fuel its own ascent. No cooldown tempers it, no environmental tie limits it. It's pure, unrelenting escalation, alien in its disregard for equilibrium. This difference stems from Ultra Space's nature, a realm without seasons, predators, or prey in the conventional sense. There, existence is a constant breach, a war of intrusions where the strongest Rift Dweller claims all. Beast Boost embodies that ethos, a trait optimized for interdimensional raids rather than planetary coexistence. In the Pokémon world, it manifests as an otherworldly glitch. Nihilego's defenses hardening after a knockout, Pheromosa's speed blurring into invisibility. Researchers in Alola whispered of it as invasive code, a power that rewrites the rules mid-battle, indifferent to the ancient timelines of Galar's Darkest Day or Paldea's Cratered Mysteries. Yet this alien potency carries a shadow, the threat of invasive abilities like Beast Boost, destabilizing the natural order, looms large. Imagine portals widening, Ultra Beasts not just visiting but colonizing. What if their traits began to seep into native Pokémon through some cosmic crossbreeding, or worse, through the Galar particle's lingering mutability? A wild Luxray gaining Beast Boost could rampage through forests, boosting endlessly, outpacing evolutionary checks. Forests once balanced by Parasic's fungal hush would crumble under swarms of boosted invaders. Alola's kahunas foresaw it, ecosystems tipping, mega evolutions paling against these void-born escalators, the world's primordial harmony, from Anorith's ancient wings to Melmetal's worshipped forge, fractured by powers that know no native bounds. Lucamine's Aether Paradise became ground zero for this dread, her obsession with ultraspace, blinding her to the peril. Nihilago's neurotoxins didn't just control, they hinted at a broader contagion, abilities jumping rifts like viruses. In hushed reports from the Ultra Recon Squad, scouts described wild Pokémon near breaches exhibiting faint boosts, speed ticks, power surges, echoes of beast boost infiltrating the gene pool. The natural order, painstakingly woven over millions of years, from Rayquaza's ozone descent to Eternatus's meteor fall, teetered. Terrestrial traits, born of earth and sky, couldn't compete with this extra-dimensional aggression. It was invasion on a metaphysical scale, abilities as weapons of dimensional imperialism. But humanity's ingenuity persists, even against the void. As Alola sealed the major rifts, whispers emerged of ways to tame these alien gifts, patching them into the fabric of everyday Pokémon. That leads us straight into Chapter 23, the Ability Patch Revolution, where you'll discover how we turned the Ultra Beast's curse into a controllable evolution, unlocking powers once thought forever beyond our world's grasp. While the Beast boost of Ultra Beasts pulsed with an alien rhythm, defying the rules of terrestrial evolution, humans on this side of the rift turned their gaze inward, toward the Pokémon sharing our skies and seas. What if those innate traits, the levitations, the immunities, the hidden sparks, weren't fixed by fate, but malleable, like clay in a sculptor's hands? This shift didn't come from meteor crashes or primordial soups, but from sterile labs humming under fluorescent lights, where the first whispers of the Ability Patch Revolution took shape. Picture the boardrooms of Sylph Co. in the shadow of Saffron City's towering spires. Around the turn of the 21st century, in our Pokémon calendar, researchers, poring over data from the Generation 3 outbreaks, those Ruby and Sapphire anomalies that first catalogued abilities as distinct from mere moves, stumbled on genetic markers. Pokémon like Abra, with their psychic surges hinting at boy-turned-monster origins, carried dormant codes. Not every specimen expressed the full spectrum. Some locked into single traits, others teased rarities buried deep. Sylph's executives saw gold in those genes. Why leave potential untapped when you could bottle it? They started small, with Seatrums tested on lab-bred Rattata, watching as a single ability capsule dissolved under the tongue, rewriting neural pathways in real time. No more waiting for the dreamworld glitches of Generation 5, where hidden abilities flickered like online phantoms. These capsules were breakthroughs, medical marvels, cloaked as trainer tools. A Pikachu faltering against ground types could swallow one and awaken with Lightning Rod, drawing bolts like a living conductor. Hospitals in Lumio City reported miracles. Paralyzed Pokémon regaining levitate after spinal tweaks, forests echoing with revived effect spores that healed ecosystems scarred by industrial sprawl. But Sylph wasn't alone. Devon Corp, in Hoenn, fresh off Rayquaza's ancient ozone interventions, licensed the tech. Ether Foundation in Alola commodified it further, packaging patches for export, thin, shimmering discs injected at power spots where Galar particles amplified the rewrite. Corporations turned genetic potential into product lines. Sylph's ability Patch V2.0, retailed for thousands of Pokédollars, marketed with holograms of Mewtwo prototypes flashing trace. Download the artificial pinnacles we'd engineered just chapters ago. They commodified species-wide dreams. Every Magikarp could now aspire to swift swim, every Snorlax to thick fat, no longer bound by the lottery of wild birth or breeding odds. 80% from mothers, 60% from Dittos, all obsolete now. Trainers flocked to these innovations, their teams evolving overnight. In the competitive circuits of Paldea, where Terrestrial crystals already bent types, patches became standard. A Quaxley with Moxie surged into crowds, boosting after every feint. its feathers rippling with newfound aggression. Vets in Galar clinics debated dosages, as Dynamax scars from the darkest day 3,000 years prior made some Pokémon hypersensitive, their cores rejecting the foreign code with feverish roars. Yet demand soared. Sylph's stock tripled. Devon's labs expanded into the Great Crater's echoes, harvesting Herba Mystica derivatives to stabilize patch infusions. It was the ultimate commodification. Pokémon genes, once sacred like Melmetal's metal forging worship in ancient forges, now SKU numbers on Pokémart shelves. Whispers of doubt crept in at academic symposiums, held in the dim archives of Celestic Town, where unknown scripts etched abilities into stone, predating even Anorith seas. Protesters gathered outside Sylph headquarters, banners fluttering. Fix or erase. The ethical debate ignited like a flare blitz. Were we healers, mending the broken, like a parasect reclaiming dry skin from its fungal overlord, or thieves, stripping the wild authenticity that defined a species? A Latias, forever airborne on martlet wings, patched with levitate might soar higher, but did it dilute the myth, the groundless grace passed through eons? Critics pointed to Kadabra's curse, that boyish psychic trapped in fur, abilities as identity, forged in trauma or triumph, not overwritten by corporate syringes. In quiet corners of Ecruteak's burned towers, elders argued the soul loss angle. A Pokemon's trait wasn't just power, it was history. Soundproof explode reshaping Hoenn caverns. Patch that to punk rock and the echoes change. Louder, harsher, the caverns weeping new fissures. Beast boost on a terrestrial Nihilego. It warps the boost into something primal, erasing Ultraspace's void-born edge. Trainers confessed in anonymous forums. Their partners grew distant post-patch, eyes glazing as if mourning a forgotten self. Vets tracked it, 20% rejection rate manifesting as behavioral drifts. Pokémon reverting to base instincts, howling at moons they once ignored. Yet the revolution rolled on. Governments in Unova and Kalos subsidized patches for endangered lines, bolstering populations against habitat loss from 200 years of Area Zero expeditions. Sylph pivoted to ethical enhancements, branding lines for conservation, Moxie for predatory revivals, Regenerate for migratory flocks battered by ozone layers Rayquaza once patrolled. The debate fractured communities. Purists breeding Ditto chains for natural hidden roles, modernists stacking patches like terror orbs. One viral incident sealed the schism. A championship match in Winden, where a patched Zacian descendant, infused with Warrior's Boost, mimicking its darkest day ancestor, shattered records but collapsed post-battle, its blade edge ability flickering out like a dying star, as capsules evolved into seamless neural weaves, compatible even with legends. Arceus timelines where abilities ghosted absent, the question lingered in every trainer's Pokeball. Had we unlocked evolution's next layer, or paved over the wild heart that birthed Rayquaza's prayers, Eternatus's leaks? Sylph's labs churned regardless, profits funding deeper dives into Paradox genes, but the patches left scars on the soul of the Pokemon world, and that commodified code. It set the stage for something even wilder, divergences that twisted abilities across borders in ways no patch could predict. Coming up, regional variants and divergent evolution. How isolated evolutions birthed entirely new powers, challenging everything we've patched into place. While the ability patch revolution raises thorny questions about tampering with a Pokemon's core identity, nature has long been the ultimate architect of such changes, sculpting entirely new powers through the relentless forge of regional environments. Consider the Pokémon that wander far from their ancestral homes, only to return transformed, their very abilities rewritten by the lands they conquer. In the sun-baked archipelago of Alola, where perpetual trade winds carry the scent of salt and blooming plumeria, familiar species like Rattata shed their timid dispositions. These Alolan Rattata evolved not just in form, but in their innate gifts, developing abilities like hustle and thick fat to thrive amid volcanic ash and tropical downpours. Why Alolan and Galarian forms developed entirely different ability pools comes down to isolation and necessity. Cut off by vast oceans or jagged peaks, populations diverged, their genetic whispers amplified by local perils. Alolan Vulpix, once a fiery plains dweller, birthed Ninetales with snow cloak and snow warning, channeling icy auras to counter the humid heat that would otherwise melt their frost-kissed fur. Across the sea in Galar's mist-shrouded moors and industrialized sprawl, the same forces twisted evolution further. Galarian Meowth, descendants of opportunistic urban scavengers, gained tough claws and pickup, claws honed for ripping through rusted machinery and foggy brawls. These weren't mere tweaks, they were radical reinventions. A Pokemon's ability pool, that hidden reservoir of potential, splintered into parallel lineages. Alolan lineages favoured evasion, and elemental cloaks suited to island volatility, while Galarian ones leaned into raw aggression and endurance, forged in coal-dusted arenas and eternal rains. Genetic drift alone couldn't explain it. Environmental pressures selected for survivors whose powers resonated with the land's pulse, creating pools so distinct that breeders in one region might never glimpse the other's secrets. Picture ancient migration routes, etched into the world's memory like veins of quartz through stone. Flocks of Snomoth, fragile ice bugs from temperate tundras, followed warming currents northward into the Crown Tundra's frozen moor, where blizzards howl like vengeful spirits and temperatures plummet to shatter steel. How migration patterns changed the very soul of the Pokemon's power unfolds in their harrowing journeys. Generations crossing treacherous straits, battered by gales that stripped away the weak. Those that endured metamorphosed into Frosmoth, colossal moths with wings like fractured glaciers. The ice scales of Frosmoth, as a response to the extreme cold of the Crown Tundra, gleam with crystalline perfection, each scale a refractive prism that scatters incoming blows, halving physical damage as if the frost itself rises to defend them. These scales aren't mere armor, they're a symphony of adaptation, refracting the tundra's piercing winds into harmless shimmers. In the Crown's endless white expanse, where auroras dance over crevices deep enough to swallow mountains, Frosmoth's progenitors faced annihilation. Early migrants, their thin chitin cracking under hailstorms, passed on mutations that thickened their exoskeletons into mirrors of ice. Over centuries, this trait solidified into ice scales, a power that turns the environment's fury outward, blinding foes with reflected glare while conserving the moth's precious warmth. Fossils from the tundra's depths whisper of these paths. Wing fragments embedded in permafrost, abilities evolving not in labs, but through the slow grind of survival, where only the most harmonious souls persist. This divergent dance echoes deeper into Pokémon history, back to when primordial seas birthed Anorith's winged legions or Rayquaza's ozone descent quelled continental wars. Regional variants prove abilities aren't static codes, but living legacies, reshaped by the world's restless geography. A Corsola from Alola's coral reefs gains regenerator to mend amid acidic waves, while its Jotonian kin clings to natural cure in polluted shallows. Galarian Corsola, ghostly husks risen from bleached graveyards, wield cursed body to hex intruders in their haunted shallows. Migration didn't just relocate bodies, it rewired essences, turning shared ancestry into rival tapestries of power. Yet these evolutions carry shadows. In Alola's Tapas, abilities like Grassity Surge terraform battlefields into verdant domains, hinting at guardians who orchestrated such divergences. What secrets do they hold over the island's adaptive miracles? That story awaits in the next chapter, The Guardians of Alola, where we'll uncover how these enigmatic protectors might have guided the very flows that birthed new ability realms. Alolan variants like those frosty adaptations in the Crown Tundra weren't born in isolation. They echoed deeper forces shaping entire regions, forces tied to the very pulse of the land itself. In Alola, that pulse beat strongest through its enigmatic guardians, the Tapu deities, ancient protectors, whose powers blurred the line between Pokémon abilities and the raw essence of the islands. These weren't mere Pokémon roaming wild. The Tapu were born from the island's spirits, manifesting as shell-clad behemoths that danced across Akala, Melmetal, Alola, and Pony. Tapu Koko crackled with electric fury on Melmetal, its golden form summoning storms that lit the night skies like veins of lightning. Tapu Lele floated ethereally over Akala, exhaling psychic mists that twisted minds and bent reality. Tapu Bulu charged through Ulaula's grasses, its massive antlers parting foliage with effortless might, while Tapu Fini lingered in Pony's waves, its elegant silhouette weaving curtains of mist over coral reefs. Each embodied their island's soul, not as distant gods, but as active wardens, shielding the land from threats both natural and otherworldly. At the core of their dominion lay the surge abilities, intertwined with terrain-altering powers that reshaped battlefields and ecosystems alike. When a Tapu entered the fray, its surge ability ignited the corresponding terrain. Electric surge from Koko flooded the ground with crackling energy fields, boosting electric moves and grounding flying foes in a web of static. Psychic surge from Lel erected barriers of pure thought, amplifying psychic assaults while shielding allies from priority strikes. Grassy surge by Bulu carpeted the earth in verdant growth, healing those who stood upon it and empowering grass-type fury. Misty surge from Fini draped everything in a soothing fog, nullifying status conditions and elevating fairy might. These weren't random effects. They mirrored the island's terrains, turning any space into a microcosm of Alola's wild beauty, where the air hummed with power drawn straight from the archipelago's heart. This fusion of surge abilities and terrain manipulation revealed a profound connection between the land spirit and the electric, psychic, grassy, and misty surges. Alola's islands weren't static rock and soil. They breathed, alive with ancestral energy that the Tapu channeled. Legends whisper that long before humans charted the stars or built kahuna shrines, the islands slumbered as primordial forms, their spirits coalescing into the Tapu during cataclysmic events, perhaps echoes of the same meteor strikes that birthed Eternatus in Galar, or the ozone descents of Rayquaza in Hoenn. The surges were manifestations of this spirit. Electric pulses mimicking volcanic thunder, psychic waves echoing the collective dreams of island Pokémon. Grassy surges drawing from root networks spanning millennia. Misty veils, born from ocean depths where time itself seemed to slow. When a surge activated, it wasn't just a battlefield shift. It was the land awakening, its vitality surging through every blade of grass, every raindrop, every gust, binding Pokémon to their home in symbiotic rhythm. Ancient Alolans revered these displays as divine interventions, and they became the bedrock of their religious ceremonies. Trial captains and kahunas didn't invent their rituals from scratch. They mimicked the Tapu surges to commune with the islands. Picture the grand festival on Melmetal. Dancers in feathered cloaks, stomping rhythms that summoned mock electric terrains. Sparks flying from friction-heated stones as chanters invoked Koko's wrath against seasonal droughts. On Akala, Lele's followers gathered in moonlit clearings, inhaling scented herbs to induce psychic trances, their minds linking in surges that foretold harvests or warned of ultra wormholes. Ulaula's ceremony saw kahunas, adorned with floral crowns, leading processions through overgrown paths, where participants rolled in soil to channel Bulu's grassy surge, promoting healing rites that mended wounds from totem battles or elder ailments. Pony's cliffside altars, lashed by sea spray, hosted misty surge invocations, singers harmonizing with wave crashes to purify the sick, their voices carrying Fini's calming aura across treacherous waves. These ceremonies evolved over centuries, predating even the Draconid prayers that mega-evolved Rayquaza by thousands of years. Archaeological digs on the islands uncover shell carvings depicting Tapu mid-surge, surrounded by human figures in ecstatic poses, suggesting early Alolans bred Pokémon selectively to inherit surge-like traits, laying groundwork for abilities like those formalized in Ruby and Sapphire. Surge Pokémon such as Regieleki or Indeedee weren't anomalies. They were echoes of Tapu blessings, their powers amplified during Z-moves that mirrored ceremonial climaxes. Yet whispers persist of lost surges, faded abilities the Tapu once wielded, suppressed when human hubris, like the Ether Foundation's experiments, threatened the balance. Even today, Alolan trainers feel this legacy in every terrain seed planted or ability patch applied. A reminder that abilities aren't inventions but rediscoveries of the land's voice. The Tapu still patrol unseen, their surges ready to reclaim any island straying from harmony. But shadows lurk beyond these radiant guardians, where precision becomes peril. Up next in Chapter 26, The Shadow of No Guard, we'll uncover how one ability stripped away all defenses, plunging warriors into unforgiving duels that tested the very soul of battle. Could absolute accuracy hide a curse far deadlier than any miss? As the Tapu deities wove their electric, psychic, grassy, and misty surges to protect Alola's sacred lands, a far more perilous shadow loomed in the annals of Pokémon history. One that turned the very act of striking into a double-edged blade, demanding total vulnerability for flawless precision. No Guard first whispered through the fighting dojos of ancient Johto, where martial artists revered Pokémon whose blows never faltered, piercing through fog, storm, or shadow without deviation. Picture the dimly lit arenas of 2,000 years past, stone walls echoing with the thunderous clashes of fists against stone dummies, trainers chanting mantras to awaken this relentless trait. It wasn't born of ethereal spirits like the Tapu's terrains, but from the raw evolution of muscle and sinew, a genetic vow etched into certain lineages, during the brutal skirmishes that followed the meteor's fall on Galar. Back then, as Eternatus' particles seeped into the soil, Pokémon adapted in desperate bids for survival, and No Guard emerged as the ultimate gamble, ensuring every attack connected, no matter the odds. Yet this power carried a chilling tactical danger, one that forced a 100% hit rate, not just on the foe, but inevitably back upon its bearer. In the heat of battle, imagine a Holucha diving from the skies, talons extended, in a guaranteed aerial ace, slicing through evasion artists like ninjutsu practitioners. The crowd roars as the strike lands unerringly, feathers scattering like autumn leaves. But in that same instant, the opponent's retaliatory blaze kick ignites without mercy, flames licking the bird's unguarded frame, because No Guard strips away all evasion, all probability of glance or miss. Warriors in ancient scrolls described it as the Shadow Reckoning, where precision became a pact with fate. Your assault would pierce any defense, but so would yours. Armies crumbled under this shadow during the tribal wars of Unova's pre-industrial age, where No Guard bearers turned skirmishes into mutual annihilation. Fields left scarred with the fallen, their bodies twisted in the symmetry of perfect hits. This leads us to the biological trade-off at No Guard's core, a sacrifice of defense for absolute offensive precision that reshaped entire species over millennia. Deep within the cellular forge of these Pokémon, receptors that once heightened reflexes for dodging, those nimble neural pathways attuned to wind shifts and feints, were rewired to amplify targeting acuity. Tendons thickened for power, eyes sharpened to track trajectories through blizzards or darkness. But armors softened, hides thinned, and instinctive guards dissolved. Throw and Sork, the judo and karate masters of Unova's misty highlands, evolved this trait amid endless duels on fog-shrouded plateaus, their bodies paying the price. Joints that locked into unerring throws but left ribs exposed to counters. Muscles primed for knockout blows yet brittle against reprisals. Fossil records from Kals's ancient seabeds hint at protoforms, eight-legged ancestors like Anorith, shedding protective carapaces to birth winged precision hunters, a lineage that echoed into modern skies. The cost was etched in their DNA, a predator's focus so intense it blinded them to self-preservation, turning every clash into a razor dance where survival hinged on overwhelming the enemy first. Nowhere did this manifest more profoundly than in Machamp, whose historical role as the ultimate guardian stemmed from this unwavering focus. transforming a curse into an unbreakable shield for civilizations. 4,000 years ago, as the Draconid people of Hoenn huddled in meteor-scarred caves, praying for Rayquaza's descent, Machamp lines patrolled the fringes, their no-guard stance as a beacon amid primal chaos. Legends carved into Mount Pyre's obsidian slabs tell of a colossal Machamp, arms a blur of guaranteed cross-chops that felled rampaging herds of Rampardos and Bastiodon, each strike landing true despite the beast's armoured charges. Villages from Sinnoh's icy tundras to Paldea's crater rims whispered of these four-armed sentinels, who volunteered their vulnerability to protect the weak, knowing one lapse meant their end. Yet their precision felled threats before retaliation could claim them. In the darkest days' aftermath, 3,000 years before Galar's kings rose, Machamp herds formed living walls around refugee clans, dynamic energies crackling as no-guard punches shattered Eternamax-spawned horrors, their bodies piling high from absorbed blows, but buying time for humanity's flight. Trainers who bonded with these guardians learned quickly. No-guard demanded mastery of initiative, positioning Machamp at the vanguard where its fists could preempt danger, four limbs weaving a net of inevitable impacts. Ancient tapestries from the Johto frontier depict them hauling boulders to fortify settlements, muscles straining under the weight of perpetual readiness. Their unguarded forms a symbol of selfless might. Even as abilities formalized in the Ruby and Sapphire era, Machamp's legacy endured, hidden variants unlocking even deadlier precision through Dreamworld rituals, passing this trait to offspring with calculated inheritance. Females channeling 80% of their slot, males through Ditto's Forge at 60% for the rarest strains, but whispers from Area Zero's depths, 200 years past Heath's expedition, suggest no-guard shadow might evolve further, Herba Mystica tainted titans bearing it as they rampaged, precision unbound by scale. Melmetal's ancient worshippers, forging metal from ether, envied such focus, seeing in it a divine recklessness that mirrored Kadabra's cursed transformations. Psychic surges gone awry, defenses forsaken for power's embrace. As we step from this shadowed vigilance, Chapter 27 unveils the future of potential, where untapped abilities wait to redefine what's possible. Could your next companion hold the key to evolutions we can't yet dream? Stay with me as we explore that horizon. No guard pushes the boundaries of precision to an unforgiving extreme, where every strike lands without fail, but at the cost of leaving its bearer utterly exposed, a glass cannon forged in the fires of absolute offense. Yet, as Pokémon push these limits, we glimpse something larger stirring on the horizon. A shift where abilities might not just enhance the self, but reshape the world around them. In the ZA era, set against the crumbling spires of Lumio City and the shadowed ruins of Kalos, we're on the cusp of predicting the next stage of ability evolution. Legends like Arceus stripped abilities away entirely, forcing trainers to confront raw instinct and environmental mastery without those hidden edges. Z builds on that, hinting at a world where powers awaken not in isolation, but in symphony with the land itself. Picture a Rhyperior, whose rockhead doesn't just ignore recoil. It channels seismic feedback from the earth, turning every missed blow into a tremor that cracks the battlefield open. This evolution feels inevitable, doesn't it? Abilities have always echoed the Pokémon's essence, from Levitate's eternal flight, mimicking ancient martlets, to Melmetal's Hexnut generation, worshipped by primitives who saw divinity in raw creation. But now, as Kalos unearths its mega-evolution secrets, those ozone prayers that once summoned Rayquaza from the stratosphere, we're left wondering, will abilities become more interactive with the physical environment? Imagine a Lucario whose inner focus locks onto atmospheric pressures, bending aura spheres into gales that hurl debris like shrapnel, or a Venusaur, its overgrow surging not just through vines, but pulling nutrients from the soil in real time, terraforming patches of fertile ground mid-battle. These aren't wild guesses. They're rooted in the timeline's whispers. Think back to the darkest day, 3,000 years passed, when Eternatus's Dynamax frenzy warped Galar's very particles into power spots. Pokémon didn't just grow, they interfaced with the land, Gigantamax forms echoing the region's scars. Fast forward to Paldea's Great Crater, a million-year-old mystery where Herba Mystica birthed Titan Pokémon, colossal beings whose abilities pulsed with the crater's paradox energies. In ZA, Kalas's fractured fairy tales and time-torn streets suggest abilities will evolve similarly, reactive, environmental symbiotes. A Sylveon's Pixelate might not merely pixelate attacks. It could refract light through urban fog, creating illusory duplicates drawn from the city's neon haze. Yet, this interactivity carries profound risks, amplifying the trade-offs we've seen, like No Guard's vulnerability. A Pokémon syncing with its surroundings becomes a conduit, vulnerable to feedback loops. What if a terrain-shaping ability backfires, summoning a storm that drowns its own trainer? The lore hints at such cataclysms. Primordial Anoris legs morphing into wings over eons, a biological adaptation to rising seas. Abilities, once mystical sparks like Kadabra's cursed psychic surge, could demand even greater physiological tolls. Enter the theory of triple abilities, a speculative leap that's gripped theorists since hidden abilities surfaced in Generation 5's Dream World. Why stop at 2, when inheritance mechanics already tease endless variation? Females pass slots with 80% fidelity, ditto bridging the gaps for genderless lines. Patches and capsules have democratized change. But what if Pokémon could wield 3 simultaneously? Offense, defense, utility in harmonious triad. The limits of Pokémon biological capacity scream no. Their forms, honed over millions of years, from Rayquaza's stratosphere dives to Eternatus's meteor-born leaks, evolved for duality, not overload. A third ability might overload neural pathways, like Kadabra's boy-turned-monster origin, where unchecked power warps flesh. Imagine the cellular strain, mitochondria firing triple the signals, proteins folding under impossible demands. In Zed's labs, beneath Lumios's glow, scientists might chase this, fusing megastones with ability patches, only to birth unstable hybrids. Pokémon whose third power manifests as environmental backlash, earthquakes from overtaxed sturdy, or wildfires from unchecked blaze. We've seen glimmers in regional variants. Alolan forms swapping pools to survive tundras and tropics. Frosmoth's ice scales a cryogenic shield against crown tundra blizzards. Surge abilities from Alola's Tapu Guardians already terraform terrains. Electric Surge crackling skies, Grassy Surge coaxing roots from stone. Triple abilities would supercharge this, but biology rebels. Pokémon cells, packed with ZA-era particles perhaps akin to Galar's, have finite receptors. Push beyond, and you risk reversion. Abilities cancelling out in a biological failsafe, echoing the absence in Legends games where pure survival stripped them away. Still, the potential tantalizes. In a Zizza world rebuilding from ruin, abilities could knit Pokémon to urban ecosystems. Steelix burrowing through concrete veins, absorbing rebar to fuel sheer force quakes. Or Paradox Echoes, future forms pulling temporal threads from the environment, rewinding damage by interfacing with time-cracked ruins. The question lingers. Does interactivity herald ascension or collapse? Ancient Draconids prayed Rayquaza into mega form through spiritual convergence. Tomorrow's trainers might attune abilities to city grids, summoning blackouts or blooms from power lines. As these threads converge, from No Guard's razor edge to environmental entanglement, one unifying framework emerges to bind it all. Join me in Chapter 28, The Unified Theory of Power, where we'll unravel how every ability, past and future, pulses from a single cosmic source, and what it means for the Pokémon you've always known. As we gaze toward the ZA era, where abilities might entwine with crumbling ruins and shifting terrains in Lumiose City, reshaping battles into dances with the environment itself, one question lingers like mist over ancient stones. What if this evolution isn't just a future glimpse, but the culmination of a 3,000-year saga, binding the divine whispers of old gods to the cold precision of human labs? Picture the dawn of it all, not in pixelated code, but in the flickering firelight of primordial caves. Back when Anorith clawed through Devonian seas, its armoured form twisting over eons into winged fossils. Pokémon powers weren't named or slotted. They were raw forces, etched into survival. Rayquaza's descent, millions of years past, halting Groudon's molten rage and Kyogre's tidal fury, fueled not by strategy, but by the Draconid people's chants. Their prayers weaving spiritual energy into megaforms that shook the ozone layer. These weren't abilities. They were miracles. Gifts from the apex dragon, Arceus's own emissary, commanding the skies to prevent continental shatter. Fast forward through the haze of time, to the great crater's birth in Paldea, a scar from 1 million years ago, its depths hiding secrets that would one day birth titans. Then, 3,000 years before the Galar we know, the darkest day erupted. Eternatus, swollen to Eternamax, rained Dynamax chaos across the land, Pokémon swelling to colossi under Galar particles from that long-fallen meteor. Zacian and Zamazenta, blade and shield forged in legend, rose with 2 human youths to seal the poison star, their victory birthing kings from the ashes. Here, power surged not from birthright but crisis. Harsh survival demanding giants from the ordinary. Millennia trickled by, power spots pulsing with latent energy, allowing Dynamax feats that echoed those ancient swells. Humans watched, revered. Melmetal, that liquid metal behemoth, commanded worship from early tribes, its capacity to forge steel from ether seen as divine alchemy, offerings piled at its fluid feet. No scrolls named it Iron Fist or Toxic Spikes, it simply was power incarnate, a godling shaping tools from nothing, inspiring forges and fears alike. Yet shadows crept in. Kadabra's tale whispers darker truths. A boy's psychic gifts unchecked, warping flesh into yellow-furred fury, spoons bending under nascent telekinesis. Was this Arceus's blessing twisted, or evolution's cruel forge, psychic storms birthing monsters from mishaps? Levitate bearers like Latios and Latios, forever airborne like the martlet of myth, never touching earth. Eternal flight as both grace and curse, evading ground's grasp in a world of predators. Centuries blurred. 200 years ago, Heath's expedition pierced Area Zero, unearthing Herba Mystica in Paldea's abyss. Pokémon devoured it, bloating into the first titans. Pericarian thundering, dwarf-scuttling skyscraper-sized. These weren't innate. They were induced, survival amplified by mystic herbs, hinting at manipulation's dawn. Then came Generation 3's veil lifting. Ruby and Sapphire crystallized it, abilities as slots, 1 per Pokémon at first, like Intimidate's growl or Blaze's fire-fanned fury. No longer vague auras, but codified edges in battle. Generations layered more. Second abilities branching like evolutionary divergences. Alolan chills birthing ice scales on Frostmoth to pierce crown tundra blizzards. Galarian forms swapping pools for regional grit. Hidden abilities emerged in Generation 5's dream world. Rarities veiled from the masses, unlocked through digital reveries. Inheritance followed in 6. Females passing slots with 80% certainty, males via Ditto's 80% proxy, hidden ones dipping to 60. A genetic lottery mirroring nature's whims. Surge powers in Alola's Guardians. Tapu pulsing electric, psychic, grassy, misty terrains, land spirit made manifest. No guard's peril hits landing true at defense's expense. Even absences tell tales. Let's go stripping them for purity. Legends Arceus and Zed, echoing a pre-mechanic wildness. Now the ability patches and capsules, syringes of science rewriting DNA in sterile labs. Genetic engineering's triumph, patching levitate onto the grounded, surge surfer to the sluggish. Ethical thorns prick, fixing flaws or erasing essence. From Melmetal's altars to Paldea's petri dishes, we've journeyed 3,000 years from mystical worship, where powers were Arceus's breath on clay, to this engineered equality. The verdict, not a binary divine fiat or blind Darwinian grind, but a unified theory of power. Abilities as survival's forge, hammered by cataclysms like the darkest day, meteors and craters, yet laced with Arceus's spark, the creator's code, adapting through harsh necessity. Gifts, yes, but earned in blood and epochal fire, not bestowed idle. This hidden timeline we've unravelled, from primordial seas to Z-Day's interactive echoes, leaves one mystery eternal. Pokémon nature's core, are they vessels for godly whims, or mirrors of our own relentless climb? Drift on that enigma tonight, as the lore fades to dreams. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective, or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.